Happy Friday. Thank you for joining us here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. Right across from me is super producer Carlene Bragg.
Hi.
Yeah, it is Friday. We made it.
We made it.
It feels just like yesterday that I said, hey, we're starting off the week, guys. It's Monday. Let's get ramped up. But we're finally here to Friday. We made it.
We made it together.
It's been a busy week, like every week.
Every single week.
But we made it, and we thank you for joining us here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus.
Yes.
Really appreciate it. We always have a lot going on. We always have a plan for the show. Let me pull the curtain back. We always have a plan for the show.
Yep.
And we end up taking different directions, and that's the beauty of the show. You never know where we're going to go a lot of times because breaking news happens, things pop up.
Interviews call in.
You just never know. Like yesterday, we had the Pope.
That's right.
We did not know we were going to get a new Pope yesterday.
Nope.
And we did not know that Pope was going to come right moments before we went on that afternoon. But we got you that coverage from Vatican City, Vatican Media providing awesome coverage of Pope Leo XIV. Speaking of the Vatican, let's take a live look. This is St. Peter's Basilica there, Vatican City. To describe the scene yesterday, and I read a report, 150,000 people were there.
Wow.
To
it
witness
looked like
seas
of people.
A lot of people.
Waves and waves of people in that
A lot of people. I learned so much in the past few weeks about the Pope. I'm not Catholic. I think we all know who the Pope is, the significance of his position, but you learn a lot.
The process, everything goes behind it and everything. You and I certainly didn't know, so we learned a lot.
It was us learning in real time a lot of times, but it was you don't get a new Pope.
Nope.
Often, obviously. So we did get a new Pope, newly elected. Pope Leo XIV. Today he led his first mass as pontiff in the Sistine Chapel, where cardinal electors voted for him yesterday. His public installation mass will take place May 18th. So next weekend. And so look, he's the first American-born Pope. And
Chicago.
So of Chicago, Villanova University. That was a pretty cool reaction. We'll play that a little later, the reaction from Villanova's president. He was on Today's Show. We'll get to that. But a lot of great reaction. Again, first Pope born in the United States, also a citizen of Peru, where he spent a lot of time ministering. So I had the pleasure of speaking with Jorge Chorsi Milian, visiting professor at UNC Charlotte. We not only talked about Pope Leo and got his reaction to the news, we talked about the significance of his name, which I learned a lot about. And we talked about Pope Francis. He has a really great story about an encounter with Pope Francis.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a really cool story. So let's take you there to the interview now. We just kind of talked about it. Yesterday, nobody can predict when we're going to find out who the new Pope is going to be. But when you found out the news, what was your reaction?
Several reactions, okay? My first reaction was, well, this is an American Pope. But then I know the guy, but very slightly. So I said, wow, the Catholic Church, the Vatican, they always play a different game, okay, a big game. So what are they trying to say with the new Pope? And well, he's an American, but he did the other way around. Instead of going from Latin America to the United States, he put everything upside down. So he's an immigrant from the United States that went to Latin America. And when I heard his first speech, he chose to speak in Spanish. Not even Francis started as a Pope speaking in Spanish. So I said, wow, what's going on now? What's the future with an American or Peruvian Pope? Is he more Peruvian, more Latin American than American? This is all the things that came to my head yesterday.
What's the significance of him being an American Pope, one, and then two, the name?
Well, that's very interesting. First of all, he's an American Pope. So he's a non-Italian Pope. You know that in the last 40 years, we didn't have an Italian Pope. But before that, we had popes. We have Italian Pope for almost 5 centuries. So that's a message there. So he's not an Italian Pope. He's from the Americas again. So I think there's something going on here. And I think the church is moving from being a European Catholic church to be a more African, Asian, Latin American church. In that sense, I think that's why he's American. He had to be out of Europe. You know, Europe full of wonderful, spectacular churches and cathedrals, but they are empty. Nobody's there. You go there, you go to Rome, you go to Madrid, you go to all the old Catholic capitals, but you didn't find anyone. So I think that's one meaning. And the name Leo, well, there are several things about that. I think we need, you know, all the name. A pope doesn't choose a name for simple reasons. So I think there are at least two. One of them is the last Pope, Leo the 13th, who was the first to gather all the information about workers. And he wrote, Leo the 13th, Rerum Novarum, which is in Latin something like the new things. And he wrote something like a very long speech on how to deal with workers facing the industrial era. In the times where you have communists, you have businessmen, you were in the United States in the middle of the Gilded Age, so it was more about businessmen than workers, and the church wrote something, and this guy, Leo the 13th, about how to protect the workers without being a communist or a socialist. So I think in that sense, his name continues in a way the work of Francis. And of course, you also have the second reason of the name, I think, is Leo of Assisi. He's the best friend of Francis of Assisi was Leo. So it's probably, that's the idea of his name.
And it sounds like, correct me if I'm wrong, with the name, it's is a nod to the past, but also sort of I guess a look at what's happening now around the world. Is that a good way to look at it?
I think so. I think the Catholic Church from the time of Francis, they are facing a new world where we need to reorganize the battle or the agreement between entrepreneurs or businessmen and workers. And the church is always looking for that place to be the bridge between them. Some kind of how can we deal with this new thing? So it's about the old. The church, the Catholic Church, is always the old way to face the new way. So it's always trying to. They are very involved in geopolitics, even more than a modern country.
Francis, his legacy is being progressive, right? More progressive than the Catholic Church has normally been. How do you, and I guess this is more of a philosophical question, how do you carry on that legacy, but also establishing your own legacy as well? I mean, I guess that's the task, right?
Yeah, I think so. So he was a Jesuit. So these guys, the Jesuit, it is an agency in. They have been working in the church since the 15th century, 15th, 16th century. And they knew how to work with power. So they knew. Francis was in 5 years, he was trying to keep his legacy after his death. Okay, so this guy's the Jesuit. They know how to play. They play chess. Okay? So they know the next 2 or 3 movements, even though they were not going to be here. So he appointed most of the cardinals, the guys who were going to appoint the new pope. 80% of them were appointed by Francis. One of them is Leo. So he knew, at least he couldn't control who was going to be the new pope, but at least he had some kind of, I don't know, some kind of control on that. So that's how he did it.
You said chess. It's nothing but chess.
It's chess. It's chess.
Being from you're from Argentina.
I
Pope
am.
Francis obviously is from Argentina. Did you ever get a
Yes.
chance to be around him, hear him speak, see him at all in person?
Yes. Yes. He was, to become cardinal, you need before to be a bishop. So he was the bishop, Archbishop of Buenos Aires. So I saw Leo was until yesterday the bishop of Chiclayo in Peru. Okay, so I saw him on the street of Buenos Aires. It's a very popular place in Buenos Aires. It's Plaza de Mayo. It's like an open space, and he was a regular guy. Just a regular guy, and you can Jorge, that was his name before becoming Francis. Father Jorge, how you doing? Oh, I'm good. I'm doing so and so. He was the regular guy who was after being Francis. He was the same guy before. Okay, working on the streets of Buenos Aires, on the shanty towns of Buenos Aires. So you could go and talk to him on the street.
Wow,
And I saw
that's
him
incredible.
once there.
That's incredible.
It is.
My last question before I let you go. So many eyes and so even folks who are not, I'm not Catholic, but we were all dialed in to who's going to be the next pope. What impact does this have on the world? I mean, we're dealing with a lot politically on different fronts, but what impact does this have on the world?
Well, I think a lot. I think a lot. For example, when Francis said, uh, when somebody asked him, what do you think about this was a question. What do you think about homosexuals and the church? And he said, I don't have anything against them. So, what's the meaning of that? The meaning of that is that you go to a church in deep Africa or deep Latin America, and somebody who know in this community to be gay, he can enter the church and he can go to mass. So I think in a very local level, that's one of the things. Okay, so it changed the life, everyday's life of millions of people around the world. What a pope can say or cannot say. And if he is going to open the church for new people, he could change something that Pope Francis was changing. That I don't know if you know, but Latin America, for example, is turning Protestant in the last 50 years. So he could change that. He could. His voice, the voice of a pope, is very strong outside the United States and outside Europe too. It's very strong in Latin America, in Africa, and in some portions of Asia. So he could change if he continued to have the open church that Pope Francis wanted to have. He can open the church to more people, and he has the same message of a peaceful message, a peaceful of agreement, a message of friendship about the world that could make a change in the world. At a time where I think the world is closing, if we have a pope who thinks about opening the world, that could make a change. I don't know if it's going to be a big change, but at least you will have somebody that could listen to your story if your story is not the mainstream story.
You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sertivant. Again, that was the interview with visiting professor there from UNC Charlotte, Jorge Troisi Milian. A really great interview. One of the things that he brought up was in the next few weeks, we'll know much more about Pope Leo XIV, and also the relationship with the White House, how he navigates that. So again, still a lot to come when it comes to Pope Leo XIV. All right, we want to shift gears now. We want to go to the Karen Reed trial. We've been showing you this trial for weeks now, week 3 of the trial. And so what's happening right now, testimony is happening in this trial as they go through text messages with Brian Higgins. Now, a state police sergeant, one of the lead investigators on this death investigation, first took the stand on yesterday, and he came back today for further cross-examination by the defense. And again, these are text messages they're going through right now. Let's take a listen in.
You just happen to know what I see, that I see someone. I don't have kids, and I'm not married. Aren't you afraid you might actually like me? I don't think that's a bad thing, isn't it?
And I do want to warn you, too, what you may hear and what you may see could be graphic. I just want to give you a heads up. Again, this is a cross-examination that's going on with the Massachusetts State Police Sergeant. It's one of the lead investigators of this investigation. Again, let's listen in.
Kind of what you told me? Yes, that's true. Have a good night. You're clearly irritated. Sorry to bother you. Either texting is bad or you're sensitive. I'm not irritated at all, I swear. I had been going out with someone for a few years when I reconnected with John. And John and I got on very well at the same time, so I broke it off the other guy. He was probably starting to see other people, if I was completely honest with myself. I don't feel bad about any of that. I think it was meant to work out that way. So what's your point? Are you legitimately interested? Unhappy in your relationship? Mad because you saw him all over another girl? Or a hybrid of all of it? My only PT is that there's a difference between being married or someone and dating someone. And we have no intention of ever getting married. The PT of dating is to not get tied down if you're not confident you should be. In my mind, anyways. The first two, but I don't care too much about the other girl. Okay, so he is cool with you dating other people? And I'm not happy per se, just realistic that there's cracks and it's far from perfect. I doubt it. If he is seeing someone else, I wouldn't want to know either way. He probably feels the same, and you probably feel that way about whoever you hook up with. I think that's normal. Okay. You don't agree with me? You make some valid points. No shit, Sherlock. Come on, I'm funny. Sit on that and spin. See? Now you have to go below the belt. Love it there. Do you wear belts? Only once in a while. Okay. When I go into the office. Okay. Rando. Haha. I was teasing you. You getting all dressed up for me. Haha. I pretty much wear all black every day. Love it. Where you going in town? Newbury. She works there. Doing? She works for my friend who's a plastic surgeon. That's how I know her. Coincidence? She lives around the corner. So funny. Around the corner from your second home? Haha. Oh, haha. I had to come downtown earlier, so told her I'd meet her for a drink. You there now? You would like my spot at the Cape. I have a great spot for dinner and drinks down there. Are you there tonight? I'm a beach worshiper. Where's that? I'm in West Roxbury, a spot in West Rocks, Dedham line. I have a pass to drive my Jeep on the beach. Lots of fun to be had. I heard. I used to rent with my friends on the beach for 7 straight years. I miss it. I've been thinking about moving to Tiverton. I can give you all the beach life you can handle. Stopping for a drink later? By where? My spot in West Rocks. Probably not for a bit. Okay. At a bar? I wasn't suggesting anytime soon. I know you're with your friend. I meant my house. Probably after 8. Okay. If you don't want to, that's fine. No pressure. I will. A drink? What do you drink? Are you out now? Sorry. I'll drink whiskey if that's what you're having. Haha. Send me a pic of you two. Haha, I figured. My shot is tight. Shit. Sure you can handle this. Please. Bite me. Stop saying fresh things. Why?
Excuse me. I'm sorry, Detective. There may have been a page that is missing in that document, or it's not comporting with the...
Oh, you're right. I did accidentally turn the page.
No problem.
I apologize.
I think starting at, I usually drink whatever the person with me is having.
Yep. I usually drink whatever the person with me is having. Oh, okay. I don't take selfies either. I don't really even know how. Whatever. I wanted to see your smile. Ugh, I hate having my photo taken. Weak. Sorry. I am a very particular person. What's that mean? Okay, never mind. Go enjoy your friend. Go clean your house, will ya? My shit is spotless. Haha, I figured. My shot is tight. Shit. Sure you can handle this. Please, bite me. Stop saying fresh things. Why? Are those statements tempting? Nope. Oh, which statements? Perhaps you should drive directly to Mansfield. You said, bite me, like 3 times. Okay. 8:30ish is too late? For what? Drink. No, why? Are we not meeting up? You can stop over for a drink. Balls in your court. Are you going to give me the address? Yeah. We don't have to meet up if you don't want to. But I'm leaving town now. I am up for a drink. Okay. Should I drive around? Should I drive around W. Roxbury? I assume it says yelling your name, question mark. It's cut off. Are you going to give me the address? Yeah. We don't have to meet up if you don't want to, but I'm leaving town now. All right, it repeats itself. I apologize. So, okay, should I drive around W. Roxbury yelling your name? Haha, no. Where are you now? Newbury. Do you really want to come over? Only if you want me to. Can you take charge? I thought we already settled this. Haha. Okay, well, I am in my car and now getting on the highway. This feels like I am forcing you. Not at all. I am game. Okay, well, I'd like to know where the hell I'm going. Pike or 93? You just want to meet me at the crib, or do you want to come over? Pike, I would say. You decide. I don't know either. Whatever you want. I don't either. Play so wherever you're comfortable. You know anyone in West Rocks? I don't think so. Ha ha ha. Then just stop by for a drink. Up to you. No pressure. Just give me an address. I hate texting while driving. Bryant Road. Text me when close. Okay. I will show you where to print. Park. That's W Rocks? It's not coming up. Yeah. Then put Boston in. Bryant Drive, West Roxbury Township, New Jersey. Searching for a friend. Then add your phone contacts so you can search for their address on maps. It's a screenshot sent through. First one, what app do you use? Turn around on the street. Park at the top of the street across from the red minivan. LMK when you're here. Here. Wednesday, January 19th, 11:13 p.m. Home. Alive? Cool. Thoughts? Maybes. You? What? You asked my thoughts. You didn't answer. I don't know my thoughts. Okay, I think I get it. You have any? Thursday, January 20th, 12:27 p.m. Hi. How was your day? Good, yours? I'm exhausted. Yeah, that makes two of us. But I want a drink. Really? I'll give you Hardy's digits. Who? Hardy from 98.5, Midday Show. He hangs out at the Currents sometime. He's a spokesperson for Recovery Center of America. Haha, I don't have a problem. Kidding. I know. Good riddance. Haha, stranger, stranger. Hey, I was at Hilly all weekend. Have not heard from you. Haha, I apologize. Sunday, January 23rd, 9:40 p.m. Phone works. Thought you were all set. With talking? No. You sure? Friday, 11:32 p.m. Well. Saturday, 11:54 a.m. John died.
All right. Lights, please. Ushers, we're right at 1 o'clock, so we can take our lunch.
Court, all rise to the jury.
I'd like to see counsel just a second about scheduling, please.
Goodbye.
You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturtevant. There is the Karen Reed trial that you were just watching. They are in a sidebar right now, so we're going to shift away from that, and we're going to come back home. We want to give you an update on the forecast. We have some strong storms. Well, this is uptown.
This is uptown.
This looks good. It's warm outside.
Looks good. Yeah, but you tell me.
So, yeah, right. So I went outside before the show, and it was really pleasant outside. It wasn't too hot.
Not too cold.
Not too cold. Just like the porch. It was just right. Yeah. A beautiful day after we had some strong storms move through the area. Here's meteorologist Majestic Storm with your afternoon forecast.
Meteorologist Majestic Storm with us on this Friday afternoon. And there is some more rain on the way that could impact some Mother's Day plans.
Exactly. Spotty chances today and tomorrow. But then unfortunately, when we are looking at Sunday's forecast, that'll be the day where we will likely see a little bit more rain. Let's start with this, though. Today, happy Friday to you. We overall have pretty nice conditions. This is actually a live look outside. Nice mix of sun and clouds. Temperatures are right around where we should be for this time of the year. 70s and low 80s. This weekend, it will be a little bit cooler. cooler, more clouds than sunshine, and then spotty showers on Saturday. More opportunity for scattered rain showers by Sunday. And then next week, boy, we have multiple rounds of widespread and at times even heavy rain ahead. So get outside and enjoy your Friday. This is what the day ahead will look like. Our normal high is 79. We should reach right around 80 degrees today. Now for our mountain counties, it's going to be a little cooler, a little more cloud coverage as well. Temperatures mainly into the 60s, upper 60s out there in Boone, 68 this afternoon, 78, 10 degrees warmer if you're going to be spending time in Hickory, right around the Charlotte metro area. Low 80s is what you should plan for, and much of the same, little bit warmer for areas off to the south and to the east of us. Now what we're looking at overall as we're looking at our 10-day forecast for our temperatures will be a little bit of a cool down this weekend. Temperatures slip down into the 70s. Now it's not going to be cold, but it's just going to be cooler than those nice 80s that we'll enjoy today. Monday, not even reaching 70 degrees, but then look at this. Are you looking what I'm looking at? Look at next week. Friday, almost 90 degrees. But with that warm up, we'll also have some opportunity for some more rain and possibly some storm chances. So oftentimes when we have warm weather and storm opportunities, we'll have to keep a close eye out for some severe weather. For now, though, we're mainly preparing you for some scattered rain showers on Sunday, about a 40% chance on Mother's Day, and then it really cranks up Monday and Tuesday. As far as that severe weather goes, really that threat will be east of Charlotte today. Very low chances for our overall viewing area. Nothing like the weather forecast that we saw yesterday and overnight, but this is our futurecast now throughout the rest of your Friday. You'll see a few clouds mixed in with the sunshine today. Notice a few pops of isolated storms could be possible in the mountains, then really just a stray shower or two. Not out of the question, but really most of us should stay dry today. Overall, though, as we're heading into the weekend, of course, Saturday shouldn't be too bad. Low 70s, some sunshine mixed in with clouds. And then Sunday, 40% chance for your Mother's Day. So if you have any plans with your moms or your grandmas, just keep that in mind. Now, as we're heading into next week, this is Monday morning. That commute is going to be a messy one. Widespread and heavy rain. That's continuing through 7 o'clock at night. And then it doesn't stop there. This is even Tuesday at 7 o'clock, Tuesday afternoon. Again, next week is going to be a washout. I mean, multiple days, especially early in the week, with a lot of opportunity for that rain to fall. 7-day forecast looks like this as we're heading into the weekend. About 80 degrees today. It is going to be nice. Get outside and enjoy it as you pick up those kids from school. It'd be a good day to send them out to play, maybe some basketball, go ride the bikes, or if you have any plans uptown, it's going to be comfortable. And then Saturday, we're looking at low 70s. Sunday, of course, Mother's Day holiday. We're going to be watching that very carefully for you. So keep this in mind that we do have those opportunities for rain showers, more widespread impacts, though, Monday and Tuesday. And then all of a sudden, Thursday, sunny and almost 90 degrees.
And that's a look at your forecast. Again, you're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturtevant. That is the beautiful uptown Charlotte. A beautiful day. It looks like it's going to be pretty decent for your Mother's Day weekend.
It's a big day.
It's a big day. How are you celebrating your mom?
I'm still trying to figure that, but I'm pretty sure it's going to end up being just a phone call or something like that, because it's going to not be too nice of weather down there, Charleston. So my mom's like, I don't really want you driving down there every day and everything like that. So it might just be a phone call.
That's hey, look, yeah, that's
okay. You're heading over there this weekend, right?
helping move some items. So we're gonna do the Mother's Day celebration a day early. Mm-hmm. Her gift from Amazon should be there today.
Spoiler alert.
No, it's not, because I didn't tell her. I told her it was going to be Amazon.
Oh, okay. So she kept an eye out.
She doesn't know what.
She doesn't know what it is.
Yeah. So I think she's going to like it. Got a couple of recommendations on it. So that's coming. So we're going to do Mother's Day a day early. So yeah. Well, and she needs to rest. She doesn't need to go out.
No.
And fresh off a hip surgery too.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Relax. She's antsy right now.
Relax. I understand that.
So you just got your forecast. So yesterday, again, I mentioned we had some strong storms. We were weather alert actually yesterday, and so this is actually new sound. This is a new interview. We were able to speak with the Better Business Bureau. Actually, our WCNC Charlotte's Anna King spoke with the Better Business Bureau. She is in South Carolina. We'll check in with her in just a few minutes about some of the storm damage they're dealing with there. But she was able to check in with the BBB because a lot of times when it comes to storms, that's when you see, unfortunately, scams. Mm-hmm. And so she spoke with the BBB about how can you avoid a lot of these scams. Let's take a listen into that interview.
So we saw a huge storm, definitely Chester County, Lancaster County, York County, but this is not uncommon across, I'm sure, multiple counties across North and South Carolina. So I'm sure it's the same for everyone. When this happens, a lot of companies will reach out or will post about providing help to when it comes to damages to property.
Sure.
What kind of calls do you all get around this time of the year is what I'm really wondering.
You know, we're always getting calls with consumers wanting to do their homework. And that's really the best thing that we do. One of the best things that we do here is we provide reliability reports, profiles on local businesses in our community. So, you know, consumers can contact us. We can provide them a report on that company, how long they've been in business, have they had any complaints, how they responded to those complaints. Are they properly licensed? So that's one of the major points of the Better Business Bureau is provide that service, to be a servant to our community. And anytime, you know, you have storms like this, there's going to be storm chasers out there. There's going to be folks that are knocking on doors. And in the state of South Carolina, we're blessed to do that type of work, to do roofing work, anything over $500 repair work on someone's house in South Carolina. You have to have a minimum of a specialty contractor's license through the South Carolina Department of Labor Licensing and Regulation. And anytime someone becomes a member here at the Better Business Bureau, you know, that's the first place that we're going to check, is make sure they've got their proper licensing in place. And it's that way, you know, it's just important when consumers are dealing with businesses, especially when they come knocking on their door. If they've had some damages, maybe there's some leaking going on, you know, certainly there's some panic going on there. There's a major issue going on. So a lot of times consumers get caught up in the moment and they forget to do their homework. So any good contractor out there, they're going to help you provide the information that you need so that you can, as a consumer, you can make a good decision. And if somebody's knocking on your door, they're saying this deal is only good for today. They don't want to show you their licensing. They don't want to show you their bonding information. Those are major red flags. And although, you know, it's an emergency situation, you still want to make sure you're doing your homework, Ms. King. That way, if there's something does go wrong, you know, the Better Business Bureau can help you out. You know, they've got a license, they've got some skin in the game. It just makes it easier for us to be able to help folks out. So it's just really important that consumers out there, although there's an emergency going on, they still need to make sure they're doing their homework and getting the right person to take care of their house for them.
And I was going to say, when there is an emergency, it's that moment of desperation for folks that could get them potentially in a worse situation. Is
Yes.
that what you all see?
Yes, yes. You paid money up front. You know, a good contractor, certainly a deposit is reasonable, but certainly you don't want to be paying, you know, large sums of money up front, especially not getting information, you know, get everything in writing. No job should be paid for until it's completed in full and you're satisfied with the work. And, you know, if you give money up front to someone and you haven't done your homework, you don't know who they are, you don't know where they are, it's going to be really hard for any organization to help those folks out, Ms. King.
Do you typically receive calls after the fact from people, after they potentially paid someone, after
Unfortunately, we get more. Unfortunately, we get more than we should. Mm-hmm. It's the worst phone calls. Is someone calls and asks for a report on a company. That company's got an F rating. They've got a history of unanswered complaints. And the worst question is how do I file a complaint? So we're really at our best, most powerful when you use us for a pre-purchase report. That's why we put those reports out there. We've got a very high domain authority. Ms. King, you can pretty much Google any company and that BBB profile is going to be right there. So we take that complaint process very seriously, and we certainly give businesses in our community a fair chance to respond to any complaint that comes across.
Perfect. And then, so what advice do you have for people who are going through this right now? We plan to go down there and see some of the damage, but there are people who are going through this. So what advice do you have for them?
Well, what you want to do is just take a little extra time. My daughter always says, does everything have to be in football terms? But it's okay to back up and punt sometimes, you know, so just take a second. And, you know, with these smartphones today, it's so easy just to do a quick search. There's so many, you know, bbb.org. There's so many great sites out there, review sites. You know, we vet all of our customer reviews, just like our complaints. So what you really want to do is just take a minute, do your homework, make sure you're dealing with someone that's licensed, that has all their background information. And it just, that way, you're going to save yourself a lot of heartache at the end of the road.
Perfect. Awesome. Anything else you want to share with people?
Just tell them it's okay to do your homework. Don't let somebody pressure into you just saying, hey, this deal is only going to be good for today. Because somebody that's in our community, that's here, that wants to take care of their customers, they're going to be here today. They're going to be here tomorrow. So it's okay to take a minute and just do your homework.
Some good advice from the BBB. Again, we're in that time of year where we get a lot of storms because it's hot. It's just sort of that environment
it's that spring, summertime in the Carolinas. You kind of have to expect it.
Yeah.
And storm is going to pop up here and there.
And unfortunately, scams are part of it. Sadly, scams
now.
are. Yeah. So make sure you just be vigilant if you do have any damage. All right, so we want to shift now. We will stay here at home because today the Mecklenburg County Peace Officers Memorial Procession and Service took place. We carried this live on Impact News this morning, and basically it's Charlotte Mecklenburg Police. They're honoring the lives and service of officers who made the ultimate sacrifice in the line of duty. And this is an annual event that they put on.
We should mention there was several police sergeants here. There was Cornelius was there, Davidson was there, the sheriff's office was there, fire was there.
Wow.
I mean,
it was a lot.
Yeah, it was a lot of departments from all around town.
I watched some of the coverage too, and it was very great to see the community come together for this. So we want to.
We actually have Miss Whitehouse.
Okay, yeah. So we're going to put a pin in that. We want to get you to that service, but for right now, there's a White House briefing that is underway live right now. This is Caroline Levitt, press secretary for the White House. Let's take a listen in.
Return to re-emphasize his continued vision for a proud, prosperous, and successful Middle East, where the United States and Middle Eastern nations are in cooperative relationships, and where extremism is defeated in place of commerce and cultural exchanges. This trip ultimately highlights how we stand on the brink of the golden age for both America and the Middle East, united by a shared vision of stability, opportunity, and mutual respect. The President greatly looks forward to visiting with our brave men and women in uniform at our U.S. Air Base in Qatar throughout this trip. Yesterday, President Trump demonstrated the art of the deal and secured a historic trade agreement, despite all of the naysayers who said no deals were coming. That, of course, turned out to be untrue. On the 80th anniversary of Victory Day for World War II, President Trump announced a great deal that provides American companies unprecedented access to the UK markets while bolstering U.S. national security. This trade deal will massively expand U.S. market access in the United Kingdom, creating a $5 billion opportunity for new exports for U.S. farmers, ranchers, and producers. This includes more than $700 billion in ethanol exports and $250 million in other agricultural products like good old American beef. The deal commits the United States and United Kingdom to work together to enhance industrial and agricultural market access and strengthens American competitiveness. Importantly, the deal also ensures streamlined customs procedures for U.S. exports. The UK will also be purchasing $10 billion of American-made Boeing planes as part of the deal. A trade agreement like this between the United States and the United Kingdom was being worked on for many years but continued to prove elusive. But because of President Trump's bold negotiating approach, he got it done. All of this happened because of President Trump's implementation of powerful tariffs to end the era of economic surrender and rebalance America's trading agreements. American workers and companies are the best in the world, and they finally have a president who has their backs, fights for them, and delivers good deals that puts them first. This is just the first of many trade deals to come. Get ready for more historic deals and our country to boom like never before. On that note, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and Ambassador Jameson Greer will meet with the lead representatives on economic matters from the People's Republic of China over the weekend in Switzerland. As President Trump has said, the United States and China have been talking for some time over the course of the administration, and now teams from both countries will meet in person to continue discussions. You can be certain that President Trump and his trade team will ensure we work to achieve the best deal possible for America. In other news, the Trump administration just announced a new incentive for illegal aliens living in the United States to self-deport. Eligible illegal aliens who now use the CBP Home app to self-deport will receive a clear, safe way to leave the United States. Their plane tickets home may be paid for, and they will receive a $1,000 stipend once we have confirmation that they have left our country. This new feature will allow illegal aliens to have a planned departure out of the country and to leave as soon as possible in a dignified way. If illegal aliens make the right decision here and submit their intent to depart through the CBP Home app and pass extensive vetting, they will be temporarily deprioritized for ICE detention and enforcement action before their scheduled departure. And leaving voluntarily in this matter may improve their legal immigration options in the future. This initiative will also save massive amounts of money for American taxpayers. Voluntary departures are much more cost-effective than traditional removals. By deploying the CBP Home app in this new way, President Trump is aiming to reduce the need for costly arrests, detentions, and court proceedings. Currently, the average cost of traditional removal is more than $17,000 per illegal alien. Our projections estimate that the use of the CBP Home app will massively reduce that financial burden by approximately 70%, so taxpayer dollars can be redirected and our brave immigration law enforcement officers can focus on removing the most violent illegal aliens hiding in our communities. Finally, it was announced this morning that First Lady Melania Trump secured a $25 million investment in President Trump's budget to provide housing and support for youth transitioning out of foster care. And in recognition of the 7th anniversary of Mrs. Trump's Be Best initiative, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development allocated funds toward the agency Foster Youth to Independence program. Yesterday, Mrs. Trump hosted a special celebration of military mothers with the president, bringing together 150 military moms from around the country to recognize their service, not just in their home, but for our country. For those of you who were there at the events yesterday like I did, I have no doubt you will join me in recognizing how truly special those moments were. So let's get to questions. Here in our new media seat today is Andrew Egger, the White House correspondent for The Bulwark. The Bulwark is a new media company launched in 2019 with hundreds of thousands of readers on Substack and more than 1 million subscribers on YouTube. Andrew, please kick us off. And thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Caroline. The president posted another ad this week for his Trump meme coin. The group that's running that coin is encouraging people to buy in order to win a dinner this month with the president. Why is the president planning to attend a dinner for the top investors in his coin?
Look, the president is abiding by all conflict of interest laws. The president has been incredibly transparent with his own personal financial obligations throughout the years. The president is a successful businessman, and I think, frankly, it's one of the many reasons that people reelected him back to this office.
There are at least some people who are buying this coin who seem to view it as an opportunity to influence the president's views. There was a logistics company this week that said they would buy $20 million in the coin in order to advocate for free trade between the U.S. and Mexico. If buyers are buying for that reason, are they wasting their money?
Look, I can assure you the president acts with only the interests of the American public in mind, putting our country first and doing what's best for our country, full stop. That's his intention, and that's what he's focused on. Kristen, good to see you here today. Welcome back.
Thank you. Glad to be back. So on those China talks, what does President Trump expect to come out of those talks, and is he going to be disappointed if his team can't secure a deal?
Well, look, the president is very confident in his Secretary of Treasury, Scott Bessent, and of course Ambassador Jamieson Greer, who has played an instrumental role in all of these trade negotiations as well. I think yesterday's success, the announcement of a trade deal with the United Kingdom, is a great first step. Again, many said in this room it couldn't be done. Now we are moving forward with many other countries. We're talking to dozens of our trading partners around the world, but of course China is a major country, a major player in this space, and the president has said, and he's right, that China needs the United States of America. They need our markets, they need our consumer base, and Secretary Bessent knows that he's going to Switzerland this weekend with the full support and confidence and trust of the president here at home. Jack.
Thanks very much, Caroline. Two questions. First, can you give us an update on U.S. efforts to mediate or have an impact on the conflict between India and Pakistan?
Sure, I absolutely can. This is something that the Secretary of State and, of course, now our National Security Advisor as well, Marco Rubio, has been very much involved in. The President has expressed he wants to see this de-escalate as quickly as possible. He understands these are two countries that have been at odds with one another for decades, long before President Trump was here in the Oval Office. Office. However, he has good relationships with the leaders of both countries, and the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, I spoke to him just yesterday. He has been in constant communication with the leaders of both countries trying to bring this conflict to an end.
Just one other question. Yesterday, we saw the news of the new Pope. Before Pope Leo became Pope Leo, there were some critical comments that he made about President Trump and about Vice President Vance on his then X account. Does the White House have any reaction to those comments?
The president made his reaction to Pope Leo's announcement yesterday very clear. He is very proud to have an American Pope. I think it was a surprise to everyone. I saw the news media was surprised to report on that yesterday, but it's a great thing for the United States of America and for the world, and we are praying for him.
Thanks, Caroline. The president has been pretty firm on keeping these 145% tariffs in place on Chinese imports. Today, via Truth Social, he said that he'd be possibly open to lowering those to 80%. Why the change, and how did the president land on 80?
The president still remains with his position that he is not going to unilaterally bring down tariffs on China. We need to see concessions from them as well. And again, that's part of the reason that Secretary Besson is going to talk to his Chinese counterparts this weekend to start those discussions in person. As for the 80% number, that was a number the president threw out there, and we'll see what happens this weekend. And always in the effort of transparency, I'm sure you'll hear directly from the Treasury Secretary or the president after those negotiations conclude. Jackie.
Thank you, Caroline. Why did the White House announce this deal with the UK before all of the details were finished?
That's not true, actually. I saw the fact sheet. I saw the deal as well before the president brought all of you in the Oval Office in the effort of transparency. You had the president and the prime minister on the phone talking to all of you directly about how this was a great deal, a phenomenal deal, and discussions will continue. But as I spoke to our Ambassador Greer yesterday, this is how trade deals work. You set an initial agreement, you set the framework, you set up the deal, and then of course, T's have to be crossed and I's have to be dotted, but this deal is a good deal, and the numbers are determined, and all of the market access that I just discussed will remain.
Does that mean that the 10% baseline is going to still be there at the end when all of the other details are ironed out?
The president is committed to the 10% baseline tariff, not just for the United Kingdom, but for his trade negotiations with all other countries as well.
Permanently, even after the deals are done, like that is going to remain?
The president is determined to continue with that 10% baseline tariff. I just spoke to him about it earlier. Stephen.
Thank you, Caroline. I'd like to ask about New York and about a personnel matter. On New York, the mayor, Eric Adams, is here today. Could you tell us anything more about the visit, who initiated it, what they're talking about? And also, is there any comment from the White House on the air traffic control issues in New York?
All I will say on Mayor Eric Adams is that he requested a meeting with the president, and the president was willing to take it. If the president wishes to discuss his private meeting afterwards, I will let him do that himself. Yes, I'm glad you asked about the FAA. There was a glitch in the system this morning, especially at Newark Airport. As you all know, I spoke to the Department of Transportation. That glitch was caused by the same telecoms and software issues that were raised last week. Everything went back online after the brief outage, and there was no operational impact. DOT and the FAA are working to address this technical issue tonight to prevent further outages, as well as install new fiber from Newark Airport to Philadelphia. And the goal is to have the totality of this work done by the end of the summer. I want to add that this outage at Newark Airport speaks to why the Secretary of Transportation yesterday made a massive announcement in investing in our aviation safety and our telecom system. There's a 4-part infrastructure plan that was released by the Secretary of Transportation yesterday to improve communication, surveillance, automation, and their facilities. They want to replace the antiquated telecom systems with new fiber, wireless, and satellite technologies, replace more than 600 radars, which have gone way past their life cycle, and address runway safety. They want to build 6 new air traffic control centers for the first time since the 1960s and replace towers as well. They want to implement new modern hardware and software for all traffic facilities to create a common platform system throughout the towers. These are much needed changes. This is a very bold plan by the Department of Transportation. I think it's unfortunate that the previous administration sat in their hands and did nothing, but how grateful we are that we have a Department of Transportation and a secretary and a president who's willing to take bold action and change.
The personnel matter, Caroline, could I ask?
Thanks, Caroline. Just going back to India, Pakistan, can we expect President Trump to get in touch personally with the leaders of those countries to try and de-escalate this situation?
If and when that happens, we will certainly let you know. Natalie.
Thanks, Caroline. Sure. I have a question about the Middle East trip. Will any of the president's family members, like including Don Jr., Eric, or Jared Kushner, be joining him on the trip?
I am not tracking any of the president's family members joining us at this time, but of course, the first family is welcome to come. I hope they would. They're great people, great to be around, but I'm not tracking them on the manifesto.
And given that you noted he is a successful businessman, do you know if the president has any plans to meet with any of the folks involved with any of the family businesses over there, or see any of the sites that are going to be
Not to my knowledge, and let me just get to the premise of your question that both of you have raised. I think it's frankly ridiculous that anyone in this room would even suggest that President Trump is doing anything for his own benefit. He left a life of luxury and a life of running a very successful real estate empire for public service, not just once, but twice. And again, the American public re-elected him back to this White House because they trust the best interests of our country and putting the American public first. This is a president who has actually lost money for being president of the United States. I don't remember these same type of questions being asked of my predecessor about a career politician who was clearly profiting off of this office. That is not what President Trump does, and this White House holds ourselves to the highest of ethical standards. Phil.
Thank you. There's this Reuters report that the U.S. is in talks with Israel about an American-led post-war administration in Gaza. Is that accurate? Are these talks ongoing?
We are in constant communication and dialogue with our counterparts and our allies and friends in Israel. Ron Dermer was here at the White House yesterday meeting with members of President Trump's team. As for the situation in Gaza, the president and his entire national security team have made it very clear we want to see the hostages released from Gaza. That is a priority for this administration. As for what that looks like, and even moving beyond that, I'm not going to get into the details of plans that frankly may or may not have even been proposed, but I can emphasize what the president holds closest in his heart right now, and that's the release of all of the hostages in Gaza.
And then there's been some conservative pushback to some of these salt tax, the salt tax cap. For instance, Majority Leader Steve Scalise said that bringing back the state and local tax deduction would essentially mean, quote, 45 states are subsidizing 5 states that have very high taxes imposed by leftist governors. Is he wrong? Is it fair to ask red Indiana to bail out blue New York?
Well, look, this is an ongoing discussion on the Hill. There's a lot of disagreement on Capitol Hill right now about the SALT tax proposal, and we will let them work it out. As for the tax provisions in the reconciliation bill, the priorities of this president, he has made them incredibly clear. No tax on tips for our hardworking service workers, no tax on Social Security for our well-deserving seniors who have worked their whole lives to pay into this system, no tax on overtime for hardworking Americans as well, and there's a plethora of other priorities the president wants to see in this bill. Anyone who opposes this bill will be opposing the largest tax cut in American history. They will be voting to raise taxes by the tune of $4 trillion on the middle class of this country, and we look forward to holding them accountable for that. Everyone on Capitol Hill on both sides of the aisle should be supportive of the president's tax priorities.
Follow up on that?
Go ahead. Short. Go ahead, and then I'll go to your follow-up.
Thanks, Caroline. I want to follow up on a Truth Social post. So the president's saying 80% tariffs could come down. Just an announcement would be enough to lower those tariffs? Is that what he's looking for from the Chinese?
Nope, that's not what the president said. He said that an 80% number may sound good to him, but again, he's in constant contact with our Secretary of Treasury, who will be leading these negotiations this weekend.
And historically, the Chinese have made the meeting itself a win. What does a win look like out of these meetings for the president this weekend?
A good deal for the American worker and the American people. Go ahead.
Thanks, Caroline. Get back to the reconciliation bill. Can you just clarify the president's position, though, a little bit specifically on the tax issue? Because in his Truth Social post, he said this morning that he would accept even a tiny tax increase for the rich, but then says Republicans probably shouldn't do it, but I'm okay if they do it. So what is it that he wants? Does he want them to increase the tax rates?
The president wants tax cuts, the largest tax cuts in history. He wants to extend his historic tax cuts from 2017, and he wants to see all of the other tax priorities priorities that I just laid out for you included in this bill as well. As for the policy proposal you're talking about, the president has said he himself personally would not mind paying a little bit more to help the poor and the middle class and the working class in this country. I think, frankly, that's a very honorable position. But again, these negotiations are ongoing on Capitol Hill, and the president will weigh in when he feels necessary.
Encourage them to have a higher bracket for top earners.
The president has made his personal position on this matter clear. Michael. The president's in constant communication with leaders on the Hill.
Ahead of the president's trip to the Middle East, he's mentioned he wants to rename the Persian Gulf the Gulf of Arabia. Iran is now saying that doing so will bring the wrath of all Iranians. Can you talk about the support that the Gulf of Arabia has in the region and why this is important to the president?
Well, first of all, the president has said he hasn't made a determination yet. That was in the news that you guys all asked him about it, and he said he wasn't quite sure. So he hasn't made a definitive decision on that yet.
And secondly, Caroline, the president has shown support for South African refugees that are coming to the United States next week. Can you talk about what these refugees are fleeing and why this is a priority for the administration?
Well, the president has actually signed an executive order on that matter. My office can get it back to you, Michael. But this group in South Africa has faced racial persecution. In fact, the government there has vowed to take away their farmland that they own. And so the president has talked significantly about this. As for further details on refugee claims and asylum claims, I would defer you to the State Department.
Can I follow up on that?
Go ahead. No, in front of you.
Thanks, sorry.
Sure.
Thank you, Caroline. Does the administration have any response to the news today that a federal judge has ordered the immediate release of Ramesa Ozturk from detention, and particularly his comments that the government submitted no evidence other than an op-ed that Ozturk wrote last year?
I will have to check in with the Department of Homeland Security on that particular case, but I think our overall feeling, we've made quite clear that lower-level judges should not be dictating the foreign policy of the United States, and we absolutely believe that the President and the Department of Homeland Security are well within their legal rights to deport illegal immigrants. As for visa revocations, the Secretary of State has the right to do that as well. It is a privilege, not a right, to come to this country on a visa. But I'll check in on the specific case. My office will get you details. Sure.
Caroline, yesterday the administration appears to have started dismantling the Consumer Product Safety Commission. This is the federal agency, an independent one that does recalls and is responsible for product safety. Does the administration not believe that it's important, to keep toys and cribs? I mean, you're a young mom, off of the product of the market.
It's a federal agency within which branch? It's the executive branch. Who's the head of the executive branch? The President of the United States. He has the right to fire people within the executive branch. It's a pretty simple answer. Francesca.
Thanks. One foreign policy one and then a domestic policy thing, if I could. As far as the president's trip goes next week, is he planning to meet with the FIFA president in either Saudi Arabia or Qatar? And if so, could you give us some more details about that?
The president has quite a few meetings with many people when he is there. We can certainly check at the itinerary and let you know if the FIFA president will be there next week. Frankly, I'm not quite sure, but we can certainly get you an answer. As you know, the president attended a FIFA task force meeting at the White House this week.
And on the domestic front, could you explain why the FEMA administrator was removed from his position this week?
This is a personnel matter in regards to the Department of Homeland Security, but my understanding is that this individual testified saying something that was contrary to what the president believes and the goals of this administration in regards to FEMA policy. And so, of course, we want to make sure that people in every position are advancing the administration's goals. But as for specifics, I defer you to the Department of Homeland Security. We leave it up to our great cabinet secretaries when it comes to personnel matters. Sure, in the back.
Thank you. Aid hasn't gone into Gaza in 10 weeks. Israel says that this is a policy to pressure Hamas in the negotiations, in the ceasefire negotiations. Is this a policy that this administration supports?
The president answered this week. He said that he wants to ensure that aid can get into Gaza, but we have to do it in a responsible way to ensure it doesn't end up in the hands of terrorists. So this is something the administration is actively working on, and when we have a policy to announce on this definitively, we can certainly let you know.
Can you talk about this effort for the U.S. to take over the distribution of aid in Gaza, to exclude Israel? But also international organizations said this effort militarizes aid.
I would reject that characterization by whatever groups you are citing. Kelly.
Caroline, thank you. I want to get back to the First Lady Melania Trump dealing with foster children. That's an important component in American life to see what happens to the future of our children, particularly in foster care. Can you explain the significance of this development between the First Lady and the Housing and Urban Development?
Yes, absolutely. It's millions of dollars that will go into a program that helps these children transition out of foster care to have productive and positive lives. And I'd like to share a personal story since you asked if I may. I hope the First Lady won't mind. I was at an event in Florida last year, and I was approached by a gentleman who was a foster dad, and he had taken in, I think it was 6 or 7 foster children. And he spoke to me. He had recognized me in my work for President Trump's campaign at the time. And the little boy who was with him talked about the personal relationship that he had with First Lady Melania Trump, and the conversation she had had with him, and how she really encouraged him to be the best that he could be during her first term here at the White House, and how even after she and President Trump left the White House, she kept in very close touch with this young foster child. It was a touching moment that I will never forget, and it speaks to the heart of this First Lady and the great work that she is doing for foster children. And this is certainly a very big announcement that I know our Secretary of Housing and Urban Development is in particular very excited about, and we can certainly get you all the details on that program. John.
Thanks a lot, Caroline. I want to ask you about the trade deal that the President announced yesterday with the UK as it relates to the auto sector.
Sure.
The trade group that represents the big three here in the U.S. believes that it may put the big three automakers at a competitive disadvantage. What the trade group says is that it will now be cheaper to import a UK vehicle with very little American content than a USMCA compliant vehicle imported from Mexico or Canada with just 50% American content. What's your response to that criticism coming from this trade group?
Well, first of all, let's be clear about what the deal does. It sets a 10% rate on auto imports for the first 100 cars that are imported into the United States. 100,000 cars, thank you. That would be very few cars. 100,000 cars imported from the United Kingdom. After 100,000 vehicles, it goes back up to a 25% tariff. And as for our U.S. auto manufacturers, our auto industry, the President wants to put them on the best pedestal to compete. And by the way, if they produce vehicles right here in the United States of America, they will face no tariff at all. I would argue of any industry, the President has spent more time talking to and listening to the concerns of our auto industry here at home. He hears them, he believes in them, he wants to see them produce their vehicles here in the United States of America. This is a good deal for them too.
Is this a model for European and Asian vehicles as well, what we see coming out of the UK trade deal with the U.S.?
Look, all of these deals are going to be tailor-made. The President has said that from the beginning. It's very apropos that the first trade deal was announced between the United States and the United Kingdom, one of our oldest and greatest allies, but each country has unique concerns and challenges in terms of American industry. We need to open up markets in every single country, and obviously the needs are unique, so our trade team is looking at each country and the advantages that we can pursue for American industries and American workers. Sure.
Happy early Mother's Day. Oh, thank you. The President said yesterday that he would be speaking with Zelensky shortly. Did that call happen yesterday, or do we expect that to happen in the near term?
The call happened yesterday. President Zelensky called the President to tell him that the critical minerals deal had passed the parliament in Ukraine. I talked to the President about that call. He said it was very good and productive, and of course the critical minerals deal is great for Ukraine, but also of course for the United States of America and our taxpayers here. It was a good call, and they also spoke about, of course, this ceasefire that the President proposed, the 30-day ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine, which we know Europe is on board with, and we hope both countries will agree to.
Just on next week, do we expect President Putin, is there any chance that he could meet with Trump while he's in the region?
The President answered this yesterday. Not going to happen.
Question on ceasefire. Has he got any reaction from Zelensky or Putin on the proposal for ceasefire? Is he satisfied by the reaction to that proposal?
Not to my knowledge, but certainly if there is a reaction and updates, I'm sure you'll hear directly from the President.
Question, the President fired the Librarian of Congress. Why did he choose to do that?
We felt she did not fit the needs of the American people. There were quite concerning things that she had done at the Library of Congress in the pursuit of DEI and putting inappropriate inappropriate books in the library for children, and we don't believe that she was serving the interests of the American taxpayer well, so she has been removed from her position, and the president is well within his rights to do that. John.
Thank you, Caroline. Happy Mother's Day as well.
Thank you.
President Trump ran on delivering the biggest tax cut in history, got over 7 million votes. Right now, you got a handful of obstructionists in the Republican conference that are saying they're not going to go along with his tax cut package. You just said those that don't will be held accountable. What is your description of being held accountable?
Well, look, I think they'll be held accountable by the voters in their respective districts if they choose to vote for a tax hike to the tune of $4 trillion, which would raise taxes to thousands of dollars per household in this country. The president has great political instincts. That's why he's back in the Oval Office, and Capitol Hill should follow his lead. As for the president, speaking of him, he will be signing executive orders later this afternoon. We are happy to provide more information on those executive orders if you wish. Thank you for the Mother's Day wishes, and happy Mother's Day to all of the moms in the room. And don't forget to call your mom this Sunday. We'll see you guys later. Have a good weekend.
You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturdivant. Right there is the White House briefing that just wrapped up. Caroline Leavitt, the press secretary for the White House, answering questions from reporters. She answered questions from everything regarding the conflict between Russia and Ukraine, the president firing the Librarian of Congress, Carla Hayden, and other questions surrounding the economy as well. All right, so we want to get back to, we teased this before the White House briefing came on, but we're talking about the Peace Officers Memorial Service. This is an annual event that Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department puts on to honor the lives of officers who have given the ultimate sacrifice. As Carlene mentioned earlier, agencies from across the area came to gather to honor those officers along with the community. Let's take you to that full ceremony that took place this morning.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Please be seated. My name's Brad Koch with the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department, and the candle that was just lit burns in memory of Mecklenburg County's fallen officers and in support of their brothers and sisters who proudly continue to serve our community. Singing the national anthem this morning was CMPD Communications Supervisor Dre Galloway, and now I ask Pineville Police Department Chaplain Aaron Horton to come provide the invocation.
Let us pray. Eternal God, we gather in solemn remembrance, hearts united across departments, communities, and families, to honor those who gave their lives in the noble calling of protecting and serving. As we enter in this sacred time, we invite your presence among us, trusting in the promise that you are near to the brokenhearted and strong for those in need. Lord, we thank you for every life remembered today, for their courage, their service, and their selfless love, which reflects the heart of Christ, who came not to be served, but to serve. May your peace, which surpasses all understanding, guard the hearts of the families who carry their memory forward. Let this ceremony be more than ritual. May it be holy ground. May it remind us of your faithfulness, renew our commitment to justice, and rekindle our hope in the one who said, "Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends." Bless every officer, every family, every soul present here. Be our refuge, our strength, and ever-present help in times of trouble. In your name, amen.
Thank you, Chaplain. We have several heads of agencies who I'd like to recognize at this time. U.S. Attorney for the Western District of North Carolina, Russ Ferguson, Mecklenburg County Sheriff Gary McFadden, Cornelius Chief of Police David Balcom, Davison Chief of Police Phil Geiger, Huntersville Chief of Police Barry Graham, Pineville Police Chief Michael Hudgens, Mint Hill Chief of Police Joe Hatley, University of North Carolina Charlotte Police Chief of Police Jeff Baker, City Manager Marcus Jones, Mayor Vi Lyles, and our District Attorney Spencer Merriweather. Thank you all for being here. This time I'd like Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department Chief of Police Johnny Jennings to say a few words. Chief Jennings.
Good morning. Thank you. Now, we gather today just a few days from National Police Week with heavy hearts and unwavering respect to honor the brave men and women who have made the ultimate sacrifice in the line of duty. This is a solemn occasion, a time for remembrance, reflection, profound gratitude for the heroes who stood between order and chaos and between safety and danger. For our own community, this gathering carries an even deeper significance. I cannot overstate where we were this time last year, the memory of that darkest day in our city's history when we tragically lost 4 dedicated law enforcement members and saw several others injured. That remains etched in our hearts and in our minds. That profound loss serves as a dark reminder of the inherent dangers our officers face each and every day. Today, while the pain of our recent loss is still palpable, we extend our remembrance to all the heroes across our country, our state, and our nation who have paid the ultimate sacrifice. Their sacrifice will never be forgotten. Each name etched on the memorials, each story shared represents a life dedicated to service, a commitment to protecting others, and a courage that inspires us all. To the families of our fallen heroes who are with us today, please know that your loved ones will forever hold a cherished place in our hearts and in the history of our community. We share your grief and we stand beside you in unwavering support. The pain of your loss is immeasurable, and the courage you have shown in the face of such profound sorrow is truly remarkable. We promise to never forget the sacrifices of your loved ones and to honor their memories for always and forever. The work we do is inherently dangerous. There is no routine call, no guarantee of safety. Every time an officer puts on the uniform and answers the call, they willingly step into situations where others peril. They face unknown, confront the violence, and stand as a shield against the forces that threaten our community. This dedication in the face of such risk is the very definition of heroism. To put on the badge each day is to accept a profound responsibility. It's a commitment to uphold the law, to protect the vulnerable, and to serve with integrity and compassion. It signifies a willingness to stand for justice, even when that demands the greatest personal cost. At the heart of this profession lies an extraordinary act of selflessness. To choose to put others before oneself, to willingly place oneself in harm's way for the safety of strangers, that is a true testament to the character and the courage of our law enforcement officers. See, this is not merely a job, it's a calling. It's a profound commitment driven by a deep sense of duty and a genuine desire to make a difference in the lives of others. Just as generations before us has faced adversity with courage and resilience, so too do our law enforcement officers stand as beacons of strength in the face of danger. Their unwavering commitment echoes the spirit of those who have always stood firm in the defense of what is right. Today, we honor their memory. We stand in solidarity with their families, their friends, and their fellow officers. We pledge to never forget their sacrifice. Let their courage inspire us to be better, to support those who continue to serve and work together to build safer communities in their honor. Thanks to each and every one of you for being here, and God bless you.
Thank you, Chief. Cornelius Police Department Chaplain Paul Trebetsky will provide a scripture reading, and CMPD Communications Supervisor Greg Galloway will sing the Lord's Prayer. Chaplain.
This morning we gather to respect, honor, and remember. We respect those heroes whose names are now written into our county and nation's memory. We honor those who have fallen in the line of duty, both in years past and in most recent times. And we remember because heroes never truly leave us. They live on in our hearts and minds, having made the ultimate sacrifice in service and protection. Jesus said in Matthew 5, verse 9, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called children of God." Each name etched in stone, emblazoned on a flag, spoken and remembered today, was a peacemaker and is a child of God. And along with that, each one was also a partner, a spouse, a significant other, a sibling, parent, son, daughter, a friend, and again, a beloved child of God. Just as they are remembered, you, the loved ones left behind, the partner, the co-worker, or friend, you all are remembered. You who carry the weight of loss and love, today and every day, you are remembered. There are days of deep emptiness, days of tears that come without warning, days when putting one foot in front of the other takes everything you have. There are days of strength, of healing, of new beginnings, and always days of remembering. On every one of those days, know this: you are not alone. Psalm 46 gives us this assurance: God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble. Therefore, we will not fear, though the earth give way and the mountains fall into the heart of the sea. The Lord Almighty is with us. Be still and know that I am God. So now, let us take a moment to still our minds, to quiet our hearts, and reflect on these sacred truths. Let us, in the stillness of our hearts, pray for an awareness of God's presence and listen for his voice. Let us pray that he would reveal to us anything that hinders our peace and draws us away from him. Let us pray to be lifted with his Spirit and to stand with courage against all darkness in the world. And let us pray to truly understand what it means when we say, peace be with you. Just as Jesus said those words before he went to the cross, he gave us that promise in the Gospel of John. He said, peace I leave with you, my peace I give you. I do not give to you as the world gives. And later, after he rose from the grave, standing once again before those he loved, his words were the same, peace be with you. So today as we gather to respect, honor, and remember, may peace be with you, and may the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. God bless you, God be with you, and again, peace be with you.
You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturtevant. That was the Mecklenburg County Peace Officer Memorial Service. They do this every year, a beautiful service as they pay tribute to the officers that have paid the ultimate sacrifice. All officers do a lot of work here in our community. So, again, officers from across our area were there at that service along with the community. We want to get back now to a trial we've been following for weeks. This is week 3, actually day 13 of the Karen Reed trial. And is this Sergeant Yuri Buchnick?
Yes.
Buchnick?
Yes.
Okay.
That's who that is.
I believe I'm saying his name right.
Sorry if we butcher your name. Yeah.
But back on the stand to continue cross-examination with the defense attorney there. So let's listen in.
We do have his device, yes.
Do you have any evidence that his account was somehow, how do you know if that means synced with what Karen Reed's account?
Not from his device, no, but he could have seen the text message.
Okay, so there's no evidence that he was synced. His account was synced with anything, correct?
I'm sorry, can you repeat?
There's no evidence.
You were facing the other way, I didn't hear.
There's no evidence that his account was synced with anything.
Not his device that we have, no.
And you don't have, as you sit here, you don't have any evidence whatsoever that he saw any of these text messages, correct?
We don't have that, but I do not know.
Okay. So as you sit here, my question is very simple. Do you have evidence, affirmative evidence, that John O'Keefe ever saw these text messages?
I do not have evidence that he saw them, no.
So would you agree that the text messages show a romantic interest, for whatever motivation, a romantic interest from Brian Higgins toward Ms. Reed?
You have to ask that differently.
In your mind, as you read the text messages, did you determine in your head that there was a romantic interest by Brian Higgins toward Karen Reed?
In my mind, I saw the text messages for what they were, initiated by Karen Reed, and began a text message conversation with Brian Higgins.
And Brian Higgins was responsive to those text messages, correct?
They did communicate back and forth.
He was responsive to the overtures that Ms. Reed made toward him, correct? Suggestions. Let's get together for a drink, come over to my house, I'll come over to your house, things of that nature. Those went back and forth between the two, correct?
Yes, they were back and forth. Yes.
And did you determine that there was an interest by Brian Higgins in Karen Reed?
I read that he repeatedly asked her what's her plan, what's her goal, what's her interest, what's her intent.
Did that show you an interest on his part, in her?
I think at one point he said he was confused, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, or what's the term he used? He was unsure what she wanted.
He called her hot.
He did, yes.
He called her witty.
Right from the rip, yes.
He said he wanted to spend time with her.
Spend time, yes, yeah.
He was interested in going over to her house.
Yes.
He was interested in her possibly coming over to his house.
Yes.
He told her that he thought she was hot, his words, from the jump, correct?
From the jump, yep.
How did you interpret that?
From the jump, I would interpret it as right from the beginning, maybe the first time they saw each other, laid eyes on each other. I mean,
As a matter of fact, he basically said that, didn't he, in the text message? From the first time I saw you, I thought you were hot.
All right, you're watching that was a live look, actually, of the Karen Reed retrial that's underway. We're going to go back to that, but we want to take you now to Los Angeles, where the Los Angeles District Attorney is speaking after a hearing for the Menendez brothers. Let's take a listen to it. Sorry, folks, that just wrapped up. So again, that was the LADA speaking after the Menendez brothers had their hearing. So let's go back to Karen Reed. Again, let me set this up for you. This is day 13 of the trial. We're in week 3. We're hearing from a state police sergeant there. They continue to do cross-examination with defense attorney Alan Jackson. And earlier in the stream, we were able to hear some of the text messages between Karen Reed and a man by the name of Brian Higgins, flirtatious texts. Let's take a listen into what's going on right now.
He used the word ghost several times, correct?
I do recall reading the word ghost.
How did you interpret that word?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
I interpreted ghost in the common slang terminology as to abandon conversation, stop communicating.
He indicated that 2 different times in the text string, correct?
I know I read the text messages, by reading them out loud to a room full of people, I might not have remember how many times the term ghost came through.
Fair
I was
enough.
concentrating more on the reading, not on the comprehension of each word.
Fair enough. But you did note that he used that term in his text messages to her, correct?
I think I recall at least once that the term ghost was present in the communication.
Did you interpret that? I'm looking for what was in your mind. Did you interpret that, the use of that word by Brian Higgins, as showing some level of frustration at her abandonment of the conversation?
No, I did not. No.
Not at all?
No.
Have you ever heard the phrase, "you ghosted me"?
Yes.
How do you interpret that phrase, just in general?
I've heard it communicated between other people. I've never used the term ghosted. I think it's a little after my time. And
all right, you're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. That's the Karen Reed trial. So earlier we showed, you didn't get a chance to hear from the LA District Attorney regarding the Menendez brothers hearing. Right now, happening live is the Menendez brothers attorney that's speaking after that hearing. Let's listen in.
You know, if a defense lawyer did that, I'd be accused of every dirty name in the book. But I'm not going to dwell on that today. We look forward to coming back on Tuesday. We look forward on Tuesday and Wednesday of next week to getting yet another ruling under the standards, and so that everybody understands the reason this is important. His Honor already took jurisdiction of the resentencing. By not allowing the DA to withdraw, there is now a presumption. And the presumption is that unless Eric or Lyle is likely to commit a super strike, which nobody has suggested, nobody, that the presumption is that they should be resentenced. And so we believe that the right decision, and we have the utmost faith in Judge Jessic to do the right thing, that next Wednesday or Tuesday that they will be resentenced, and hopefully they will then go back to where they belong, which is where their family and everybody else. And that's our hope. And I'll take a couple of questions. Oh, I pulled the recusal motion. For those who want to know, for a strategic legal reason. I've explained before, we have a number of avenues or balls in the air here. We have the resentencing. We also have the habeas in front of a different judge. I did not want to, without a fully developed record, because I just got this information, and Brian will talk about it, I didn't want, without a fully developed record, to get a decision here. And somebody said in there, did you pull the recusal motion because they're so lame, or he's so lame? And I said, don't be mean. Don't say that about Mr. Hochman. But no, I wanted to get a fulsome record. We still have subpoena power, and we'll get the fulsome record. It's very troubling. I'll let Mr. Friedman talk about it, but no, that is the reason.
Are Lyle and Eric going to testify? Do you want them to testify in the hearings next week?
I don't know yet. I've got to talk to them. I mean, it's been very difficult as of late to communicate with them on a secure line. So I'll make that decision over the weekend.
So the district attorney brought up things that were found in this report about them having cell phones smuggled into prison for them while seeking this resentencing. How do you respond to that?
This is not new. The cell phone, when you say smuggled in, the cell phone violations were known. I was the one who called the previous DA and said there's a cell phone violation. By the way, last time I looked, I absolutely, and the DA's office knew it before. He would have known it himself, except he fired the deputy DA who I called on day one of doing the hard work, and then the other DA that I told he gave freeway therapy to and shipped out to Norwalk, and I guess it's too long of a drive to go to Norwalk from Beverly Hills. He was too busy coming here to do press conferences.
But does it change?
No, because I knew Kovacic would ask that question. Let me tell you one more time so you don't miss it this time. Okay, Robert? I want to explain this. I'll go slow. The standard for the judge on a presumption on DA initiated is, are they likely to commit a super strike? Last time I looked, cell phones in prison are not a super strike. Anybody else? Yes.
Still exist. Is that what you believe is happening?
I actually, when he brought that up, I was going to say, Mr. Hochman, are they talking about you and the potential narcissistic tendencies? That was my immediate reaction. Can you imagine if we did a psychological assessment of Mr. Hochman in this case? It would be wild to get the conclusions. With that, I'll leave you with Mr. Friedman. One question, just one.
It'll be a compound question.
Oh, if it's compound, I'm not answering.
Can you talk about why you are confident that this resentencing hearing is going to come up the way you want it to come up, and what is the key issue before the judge next week?
The same one I was explaining to Kovacic. The key issue for next week is there a likelihood of a super strike? That is the law.
What's the super strike?
Super strike is what I always call one of the 7 deadly sins. And if I have to explain that to you, Terry, then
talk about your
that's
confidence.
I'm not talking about my confidence level. I'll give you Mr. Friedman.
Today than you were yesterday?
Hi, Brian Friedman on behalf of the extended family members. So what was raised in court and what we learned and what was raised in the courtroom was the fact that DA Hochman has spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on a crisis PR firm, which in part has advised him concerning how to deal with the Menendez brothers situation, has advised him on what public reaction to have to that situation, what to say in press conferences, and other things. And we just recently learned of this and the involvement of, it's one thing to hire someone to be helping out in your campaign. It's quite another to be hiring a crisis PR firm to be able to deal with Eric and Lyle and that situation.
He said he hired them during the campaign.
So, I'm sorry?
He said he hired them during the campaign. It feels like you're making it sound like he hired them since these proceedings began.
Well, I think what you want to try to disclose is you want to disclose if you hired them during the campaign that part of why he hired them was to be able to be advised on how to address the family members, how to deal with them, how to address the situation with Eric and Lyle. Be candid, be upfront, talk about that, get that out. I think we were all surprised that a crisis PR firm would be advising him as to how to deal with this family. It doesn't feel fair. It was raised in court. It was raised in front of the judge. It wasn't an issue today because the recusal motion was withdrawn. But if we're just looking at basic fairness, why would you do that? Why would you do that toward the family members? Why would you do that toward Eric and Lyle? Why would you get that advice? It's one thing to run a campaign and hire PR people for that. It's quite another one to be advised on how to best attack the family and how to best attack Lyle and Eric.
Are you going to file
We are going to file a motion under Marcy's law, and we will raise these issues, and we explain that to the court today.
Mr. Freeman, could I ask you about for next week, what do you see as the key aspect of that case for you?
I see the key aspect of next week. I see the key aspect of next week being, you know, the Menendez brothers having a chance and having a real significant chance, and we think we have a very fair judge, and I'm sure Mark will do a great job at that hearing next week, and all the family wants is fairness. All they want is their chance. That's all.
It's hot, I'd like to be, we don't want to keep you up
Yeah,
here.
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. It's hot. I'm here from Washington State, so. Woo! Anna Maria Baralt is my name, yeah. Thank you all for being here. When I was walking up to the courthouse today, I was asked, what do you hope for today? And my answer was, as it always is, fairness. And I think that Judge Jessic, once again, is so thoughtful in the way he examines the questions that come before the court, the way he reads the motions, the way he really lets everybody express everything that they want to express on both sides, the defense as well as the prosecution. And as a family member, that gives me great hope, because I know Lyle and Eric, I know them personally, I know their growth, I've seen their journeys, and they are absolutely well suited for this process, for resentencing, and I have no doubt that if we stay fair throughout this proceedings, that we will see them out. So a huge thank you to Judge Jessic for maintaining the integrity of the court and the legal system, and to, of course, our lawyers for arguing so well.
Anna Maria, did it bother you when you heard about the CRA report and your cousin's violations?
No. So I have not read the CRA reports. Those are confidential reports. So the lawyers have all read them at this point. I have not read them. However, I had been reassured from the beginning, from the time that they were released, by people that are actually quite neutral in this position, not necessarily on our team, and I'm not going to disclose who that was, that told me as a family member that I should take heart in knowing that there was nothing in those reports that in any way indicated dangerousness. And so for me to feel reassured as a family member, now I didn't need to be reassured because there is no doubt in my mind that there was going to be anything in those reports that indicated dangerousness, but it was very nice to hear that.
You have heard the arguments, obviously, from the people who see it differently than you. And,
sure.
And some of them, I'm not talking about maybe the DA's argument, but some of the people from their heart feel differently. What do you have to say to those people who might just see it differently? What would you say to them?
So see it differently, how specifically?
Well, they feel that they should remain in prison.
Yeah, to those people, as I always say, that, listen, Lyle and Eric have spent 35 years behind bars. 35 years. That is a long time. Most people convicted of murder in the state of California do less than 25 before they are paroled out, right? 35 years is a very long time. I also would question anyone who would suggest that they would be dangerous if they were released today. You know, if you take Lyle, for example, he has spent 35 years in the prison system, and many of those years were at level 4 maximum security with the most dangerous people, and has not had a single violent infraction. Do you mean to tell me that he's going to be released from that environment and all of a sudden become violent? That does not make sense. That is not a rational argument. So to those people, I would say, I understand your concern. I would urge them to look at the bigger picture to see that they have already paid a huge debt to society and that they are ready for that second chance.
Mark Garagos has indicated that he has not yet spoken enough to Lyle and Eric on this. It's going to be a game time decision if they actually speak to the court come next week. From the indications that you and relatives have, whether speaking with them, messaging, Facebook, social media, do you believe that Eric and Lyle do want to speak to the court?
Oh, I don't know. Those are conversations that they need to have with their lawyers. So I would never talk about strategy like that. I think that, a personal opinion, I think everybody should hear from them to some degree. I mean, they are their best spokespeople. They are really tremendous to listen to.
Having seen the details of the comprehensive risk assessment, are you less optimistic now walking out of court than you were walking in this morning? No.
So again, I haven't seen the details. I have seen only little snippets that were read aloud from the district attorney. No, there was nothing in that would make me feel less confident. Yeah. Anyone else? All right. Thank you guys so much.
Good job.
See you next week.
Thank you. Thank you for answering the question. Frank!
Hey, Futterman.
You're okay with what happened the other day?
What happened the other day?
At LAS.
Oh, yeah. They lost some good people.
Yeah, but you're okay as well.
I'm okay.
You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Nick Sturtevant. That was the legal team for the Menendez brothers. There was a hearing today. A judge heard arguments today on two matters before resentencing can move forward for the Menendez brothers. Now, there are two other resentencing hearings set for May 13th and May 14th. All right, now we want to come back home where we had some stormy conditions yesterday. We were weather alert. So if we look at what's the outlook for this weekend and the 7-day forecast even, let's get over to Majestic Storm with a look at our forecast.
Meteorologist Majestic Storm. Friday afternoon. There is some more rain on the way that could impact some Mother's Day plans.
Exactly. Spotty chances today and tomorrow, but then unfortunately when we are looking at Sunday's forecast, that'll be the day where we will likely see a little bit more rain. Let's start with this though. Today, happy Friday to you. We overall have pretty nice conditions. This is actually a live look outside. Nice mix of sun and clouds. Temperatures are right around where we should be for this time of the year. 70s and low 80s. This weekend, it will be a little bit cooler, more clouds than sunshine, and then spotty showers on Saturday, more opportunity for scattered rain showers by Sunday. And then next week, boy, we have multiple rounds of widespread and at times even heavy rain ahead. So get outside and enjoy your Friday. This is what the day ahead will look like. Our normal high is 79. We should reach right around 80 degrees today. Now for our mountain counties, it's going to be a little cooler, a little more cloud coverage as well. Temperatures mainly into the 60s, upper 60s out there in Boone, 68 this afternoon, 78, 10 degrees warmer if you're going to be spending time in Hickory, right around the Charlotte metro area. Low 80s is what you should plan for, and much of the same, little bit warmer for areas off to the south and to the east of us. Now what we're looking at overall as we're looking at our 10-day forecast for our temperatures will be a little bit of a cool down this weekend. Temperatures slip down into the 70s. Now it's not going to be cold, but it's just going to be cooler than those nice 80s that we'll enjoy today. Monday, not even reaching 70 degrees, but then look at this. Are you looking what I'm looking at? Look at next week. Friday, almost 90 degrees. But with that warm up, we'll also have some opportunity for some more rain and possibly some storm chances. So oftentimes when we have warm weather and storm opportunities, we'll have to keep a close eye out for some severe weather. For now, though, we're mainly preparing you for some scattered rain showers on Sunday, about a 40% chance on Mother's Day, and then it really cranks up Monday and Tuesday. As far as that severe weather goes, really that threat will be east of Charlotte today. Very low chances for our overall viewing area. Nothing like the weather forecast that we saw yesterday and overnight, but this is our futurecast now throughout the rest of your Friday. You'll see a few clouds mixed in with the sunshine today. Notice a few pops of isolated storms could be possible in the mountains, then really just a stray shower or two. Not out of the question, but really most of us should stay dry today. Overall, though, as we're heading into the weekend, of course, Saturday shouldn't be too bad. Low 70s, some sunshine mixed in with clouds. And then Sunday, 40% chance for your Mother's Day. So if you have any plans with your moms or your grandmas, just keep that in mind. Now, as we're heading into next week, this is Monday morning, that commute is going to be a messy one. Widespread and heavy rain. That's continuing through 7 o'clock at night. And then it doesn't stop there. This is even Tuesday at 7 o'clock, Tuesday afternoon. Again, next week is going to be a washout. I mean, multiple days, especially early in the week, with a lot of opportunity for that rain to fall. 7-day forecast looks like this as we're heading into the weekend. About 80 degrees today. It is going to be nice. Get outside and enjoy it as you pick up those kids from school. It'd be a good day to send them out to play, maybe some basketball, go ride the bikes, or if you have any plans uptown, it's going to be comfortable. And then Saturday, we're looking at low 70s. Sunday, of course, Mother's Day holiday. We're going to be watching that very carefully for you. So keep this in mind that we do have those opportunities for rain showers, more widespread impacts, though, Monday and Tuesday. And then all of a sudden, Thursday, sunny and almost 90 degrees.
And that's a look at the forecast. Take a look at this. This is Claremont Health Park. The Ghost Peppers
Home of the Ghost
are
Peppers.
home tonight. I'm torn, though.
We know. We know. It's your boys.
They're playing the High Point Rockers.
It's your boys.
And so I'm rooting for the Rockers. I got to root for the hometown. I'm sorry, Ghost Peppers. I'm sorry, Gastonia. Look, I got to be loyal. I'm a loyal.
If anything, you are loyal.
There you go. So if you were playing any other team like the Lexington Legends,
sure.
Let me look at the schedule. The
and it's
Southern
Ghost Peppers all the way.
Right, or the Southern Maryland Blue Crabs. I'll root for you, but I got to stick with the High Point Rockers. I'm sorry, guys. Hey, what can you do? Hey, maybe you win, maybe you don't.
At least it'll be a nice day at the ballpark. It'll be a nice day at the ballpark.
It will be. Look, it's a beautiful shot out there. I kind of wish we were having our setup, our studio out there.
Right.
A beautiful day outside. So enjoy this weekend as we get started. So yeah, that's a look at the weather. We got a couple of things that we can go to right now, but we want to go back to a story that has dominated headlines. We're talking about our new Pope. Pope Leo the 14th. This is a live look from Vatican City. That picture yesterday was amazing to see. Tens of thousands of people there as the new Pope greeted, again, tens of thousands of people making his first appearance. We saw that white smoke yesterday afternoon, our time, Eastern Standard Time. And I think as a newsroom, when we saw that smoke, that white smoke, because we saw black smoke several times, and we were all sort of glued to the TV screen and our computer screens, trying to learn as much information as possible. And we were able to carry the entire process and give you some great live looks there from the Vatican. After the new Pope was announced, Pope Leo the 14th. He is the first American Pope. I got a chance to speak with a visiting professor at UNC Charlotte. Gave me some really good context. We have that right now. Should be available on our website. But we also got a chance to hear from Bishop Michael Martin with the Diocese of Charlotte yesterday, just hours after the Pope was announced. And he gave us a reaction. And he was able to talk to us about the significance of this moment and the impact of this new Pope. Let's take a listen in.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be here today on a day of tremendous joy for the Universal Catholic Church, and in particular for the Diocese of Charlotte, as we celebrate our new Holy Father, Pope Leo the 14th. I'm honored that you've come to cover this as it relates to our local reality, but also as we participate in something greater that's throughout the entire world. There's been tremendous anticipation since the death of Pope Francis on who might be the next spiritual leader of the entire world, the Catholic world, and we're thrilled today to be able to name Pope Leo the 14th. Cardinal Prevost, as you know, has some great connections here to our country, born and raised in Chicago, and has served here in the U.S., but also in Peru. and most recently at the Vatican for the Dicastery of Bishops, which is the office within the Holy Roman or the Roman Catholic Church that determines who becomes bishops throughout the church. And so it's amazing to see this man being selected by his peers. Interestingly, I had a meeting with him, a personal meeting with him on April 1st. I was in Rome for some other meetings, and one of which was to meet with him about a couple of issues here locally. And we were together for just under an hour, and just he and I. It was not my first time meeting him, but it was certainly my first time sitting down with him one-on-one, and we had a couple of things to talk about, but then also had some time to just communicate informally and learn a little bit more about each other. And I was very taken by his friendly nature, but also about his awareness of the dynamics, not just of the church in the United States, but more importantly about the church around the world. And so I'm certainly thrilled that our church has selected this man whom I believe will be a wonderful 267th successor of Christ in the chair of St. Peter. And I pledge on behalf of all of the Catholics of the Diocese of Charlotte our support, our prayers, and our best wishes to Pope Leo XIV. I'm happy to take any questions that you might have.
So I'm very interested. You got to meet him, sometimes sitting down informally.
And that was Bishop Michael Martin with the Diocese of Charlotte speaking about the new Pope, Pope Leo XIV, newly elected. And today he led his first Mass as Pontiff in the Sistine Chapel, where Cardinal electors voted for him yesterday. His public installation Mass will actually take place May 18th, so next weekend. All right, we'll shift gears now because tensions are escalating between India and Pakistan after a deadly attack in Kashmir, killing dozens, many of them tourists. This morning, we were able to discuss further as far as the decades-long conflict there, and we were able to speak with a professor at UNC Chapel Hill, Jane Monreal did during our 9 to 11 stream. Let's listen in to that interview.
Soon as that airs. But right now, we want to talk about what's happening overseas. If you've heard in international news, tensions between India and Pakistan happening this following a deadly attack in Kashmir, killing dozens, including many of them tourists. So this morning we wanted to delve into further this tension and really talk about what's happening here. UNC Chapel Hill professor Navan Bapat, I believe. Correct me with the pronunciation, Professor.
Yes, it's Navan Bapat.
Navan Bapat. Thank you for joining us this morning. And let's just go right to the beginning here and explain this decades-long conflict. This really stems from the early 1947, if not before, right?
It stems from the partition in 1947. Yes, that's sort of the origin point. That's where the British decolonized the Indian subcontinent, and during decolonization, they created the state of Pakistan in the north, which was supposed to be a state populated by Muslims, and a state in the southern part, which became India, which was supposed to be more Hindu-dominated, but it was a secular state.
So why is this happening? Why did this happen, this attack?
So yeah, that's a great question, and it's a long story. This attack is part of a sort of long-standing insurgency in Kashmir, which India and Pakistan have fought 4 wars over this, and since the late 1980s, there's been an insurgency that India says is supported by Pakistan. There's quite a bit of evidence that that's true, but there also is, because Kashmir at the time of partition was majority Muslim, it was ceded to India by a Hindu Maharaja who, for security, because he was concerned about an invasion of Pakistani tribesmen, ceded to India to gain security. So what you have is a situation in Kashmir, at least in the Indian part of Kashmir, which is Hindu, it's dominated by what is believed to be a Hindu state, but it's a majority Muslim population, and it's unclear how much of that since where Kashmir is, if Kashmir if generally prefers to reunite with Pakistan, if they prefer to become an independent country, which is what the Maharaja initially wanted, or if there's preferences to stay in India. I think polling data would be unclear. So again, we're at a point now, it's been years since partition, so it's not exactly, I can't say for sure what the population would want, but Pakistan still has not ceded its claim to Kashmir, and India has recently announced that it was going to, for a long time, Kashmir had a local law where it would govern itself, but in a sense, India has suspended that and has done so since 2019.
So both countries have nuclear weapons, and what does that threat mean then for both sides?
Well, that is, since both sides do have demonstrated nuclear capability, right? So we know that. What we're less sure of, I think, is the delivery systems of those nuclear capabilities, right? So I don't think if there were a conflict involving nuclear weapons, it would likely be more localized to the subcontinent. But an important thing to remember is that it's a whole bunch of the world's population there, and the effects of that may travel. So again, I'm hoping, India and Pakistan have engaged in skirmishes before. There has been cross-border terrorism between Pakistan and India. It hasn't escalated to the nuclear level, and so I'm hoping it stays that way. But the longer it goes on, the bigger the concern will be that something like that may be considered.
Yeah, I mean, Pakistan calling this an act of war, and so how do you interpret this narrative?
Well, I would be concerned with Pakistan in particular, just given the political situation. So the power in Pakistan really sort of is with General Munir, and there is an elected prime minister, but Munir really is a big decision maker, and he is going through this interesting period where the military has fallen out of favor with many of the Pakistanis. One of the main sort of popular candidates for elected office is Imran Khan, and he's in jail. So again, Munir is going through this sort of difficult balancing act. On one hand, I think he is sort of generally preference-wise more hostile to India, but on the other hand, he's also trying to sort of build some support for the military. So those two things combined, I'm concerned may be very escalatory. On the Indian side, they're also doesn't seem to be much tolerance for this type of behavior. Every time there has been a terrorist attack during Prime Minister Modi's tenure, he tends to respond with some form of force. So again, those two things combined make this a very dangerous situation.
Do you believe there's any sort of diplomatic step forward? How can both countries move beyond this?
Well, so I think short term, I'm hoping so. Again, there have been skirmishes before. 2019 had one, right? So it's possible that we can sort of step down. And in those cases, again, there has been some effort by the international community to try to mediate this and try to push it towards a sort of stable equilibrium. I don't know about this case. I'm hoping that will happen again, but there doesn't seem to be as much international focus on this, given the various hotspots throughout the world right now. So I'm hoping there is some more involvement that can help both these parties step back from the brink.
And really watching here from the U.S., it's easy to detach, but why should Americans care?
Well, they should care, again, because both sides do have nuclear weapons, so that's a reason to care about any conflict, I would say. It's also a large portion of humanity is there in the subcontinent. India is the largest country in terms of population in the world. It's also looked at as a very, very significant emerging economy, and from the American perspective, there is real interest in India as being a sort of counterbalance to China in terms of its influence. Pakistan has also been an area that has had quite a bit of terrorism emerge from that area. Again, in terms of economic terms, it's also a significant part of China's BRI initiative, which is the Belt and Road Initiative. So there's a lot of activity in that area that makes it worth focusing on, just given what could happen, what the consequences would be, and also just in terms of the humanitarian impulse, and also, again, if we want to look at it that way, there's a large economic impetus to pay attention.
All right, Professor Boppat from UNC Chapel Hill on international relations, definitely opening our eyes to the conflict between Pakistan and India. Thank you so much for joining us this morning and offering a little insight.
Thank you.
As we bring it back out here now, you're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Time right now is 9.
And that was Jane Monreal's interview from this morning, doing a deep dive in the conflict over between India and Pakistan. All right, so we want to shift back now. Sidebar is over when it comes to the Karen Read trial. We want to take you back there. This is day 13 of the trial. We are hearing from a state police sergeant who's back on the stand today. He's been on the stand this afternoon, continuing to go through cross-examination with defense attorney Alan Jackson. And earlier we got a chance to hear from some of it graphic text messages between Karen Read and a man by the name of Brian Higgins. So let's take a listen in to what's happening now on the witness stand.
Described as an egg above his right eye. Well, let me ask you differently. Did you speak to any of the paramedics?
Yes.
Did they describe an egg above his right eye?
I'd have to see a report to actually be described as an egg above his right eye.
Did you notice a laceration at his right eye?
His right eyelid did have a tiny, tiny laceration.
Did you see a small laceration at his right nostril on his nose?
A tiny, tiny laceration, yes.
You noted that he didn't have any broken bones or fractures other than to his skull?
I did not know that. I didn't conduct x-rays or conduct the autopsy. I'm not a medical professional.
You didn't ask the doctors at the time you went and visited him and saw him in the hospital whether or not he had broken bones or fractures?
I don't believe they reported that.
And another factor that you considered was the fact that in the early morning hours of January 29th, 2022, around 6 a.m., 7 a.m., 8 a.m., there were no taillight pieces found at that location? Zero? Did you consider that?
At what point?
On January 29th, between, say, 6 a.m., 7 a.m., 8 a.m., 9 a.m. Consider that?
Once we learned that there was damage to the defendant's right rear taillight, I could only consider at that point because I didn't know what I didn't know.
Right.
We don't know, we don't know. We work with the evidence that's presented and we develop the investigation.
And the evidence that was presented at that time, Sergeant, was a leaf blower was used to search the area, the exact area that you've described for this jury as being the area around the fire hydrant, flagpole, where John's body was, and no taillight material was found at all in the first searches. You're aware of that, yes or no?
Yes.
As a matter of fact, you're also aware that no taillight material was found until after that SUV was in Massachusetts State Police custody and sitting at the Sally Port in Canton. Correct?
I believe the first taillight piece was found after it was in our custody. I don't know the exact time. I'd have to see it.
When you talked to Brian Higgins, did you ask Brian Higgins about potentially seeing John's body when he left 34 Fairview and headed over to Canton PD?
Yes, I did.
You knew that at that time, say 1 o'clock, 1:30 in the morning, there was about 0.2 of an inch of dusting of snow, correct? Very light.
At that point in time, there was a coating. I cannot speak to the amount of snow that was on the ground.
But Brian Higgins told you in that interview that he didn't see the body because it was hidden by a snowbank.
Objection.
Did he say that to you?
I don't have a memory of that, Your Honor.
May I approach you on?
Yes.
Take a look at page 3, the highlighted portion, if you would mind. May I approach?
Yes.
Does that refresh your recollection that Brian Higgins said something about a snowbank at the time when he left 34 Fairview?
He stated the reason he did not pay attention to the grass is he was concerned with his snowplow on his vehicle and was not paying attention to anything over the snowbank, just with the plow in front of him as he operated the vehicle.
And of course, you knew at the time, as a detective and an investigator, you knew at the time that with a dusting of snow, there is no snowbank, right?
He mentioned plowing the driveway for the Alberts when he arrived, so there might have been coating and he was just plowing it and then creating a line. I cannot speak to how much snow was actually being plowed with the dusting that was on the ground. So there might have been a small snowbank. Again, he was referencing it. He was not paying attention to anything behind the snowbank, so behind it.
Snowbank being in the yard. Actually, he said the lawn.
Yeah, he's,
Sorry. He talked about the snowbank being in the lawn, not the driveway, correct? That's how he described it.
he said he was not paying attention anything past the snowbank being the lawn.
And did not pay too much attention to the lawn area behind the snowbank, correct?
Right, off to that area, right.
Did that raise any suspicions in your mind that Brian Higgins may have been being less than truthful with you?
No.
Getting back to the Waterfall Bar and Grill, you were also aware that Brian Albert was at the Waterfall, correct?
At one point, yes, we learned that.
And you knew that Brian Albert and Brian Higgins were friends with each other. Is that right?
We learned that as well, yes.
You've already indicated that you did not seek Brian Higgins' phone records. I may have asked you this, and if I did, I apologize. Did you seek Brian Albert's phone records or an extraction from his phone?
No, we did not.
Did you look at the entirety of the waterfall video? Did you review the entirety of the waterfall video when you first obtained it? Or have you looked at it since?
I have at one point or another viewed the entire video, yes.
Your Honor, with the court's permission, this has already been marked as evidence, but I cannot read it. It's not my notes. Exhibit 22, I'm told.
Okay.
May we exhibit that for the, or present that for the jurors?
Yes.
And I'm asked to advance this to runtime 8:30 to about 11:08, so a couple of minutes with the court's permission.
Yes.
Let's go ahead and play that. Can we pause it briefly, Mr. Wolk?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Can you please, if you can, point for the jurors whether or not you see Brian Higgins in that video?
I'll use the screen in front of me for initial indication. I believe I believe that is Brian Higgins right there.
Can you do me a favor, just so everybody has a perspective? Can you also point to him there? Okay.
There you go, right there. I believe that is Brian Higgins.
Okay. Do you see Brian Albert in that video?
I can't tell you exactly. Maybe if you run it a little bit longer, or zoom it in, I could possibly tell you, but from right here, right now, I cannot.
Sergeant, why don't we play this for a couple of seconds? And if you don't mind, if you get to a point where you recognize the person that you know as Brian Albert, could you just tell me to stop and I'll pause it?
Absolutely.
Let's go ahead and play it with the court's permission.
Sure.
Can you pause it?
Stop it.
Go ahead, Sergeant.
Brian Albert is the individual right there. Right there.
Can you describe what Brian Albert and, by the way, for the record, Your Honor, the witnesses indicated the person toward the left, right under the 2-9 on the chyron on top, the 29?
Yes.
Can you describe what you see the two individuals, Brian Albert and Brian Higgins, doing in this scene?
It looks like they are facing each other, possibly squaring off in a stance.
Can we go ahead and play this forward, please? Can we pause it? Sergeant, did you see either of the two men or both of them squaring off in what you would consider to be a fighting stance?
I guess it could be considered that. I would look more like roughhousing. It's a couple of buddies messing around.
Not suggesting they were actually fighting, but a fighting stance.
Yeah, no, they were not. They were not fighting. No.
Go ahead and play it. Can you pause it? Sergeant, do you happen to see in this shot, just for orientation, do you see my client, Ms. Reed?
I'm sorry, I was paying attention to the two gentlemen.
That's fair. That's kind of an unfair question. Could you, if we play this a few more seconds, could you look around, scan around, and tell me if you see someone that you believe is my client?
Yes, I will try.
Let's go ahead and play. Go ahead and pause it. Do you see anybody that looks like Ms. Reed?
Yes, I believe she's in top left, top right corner of the frame talking to Mr. O'Keefe and I believe two other gentlemen.
Long hair?
On your client?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. Let's go ahead and play this up to 11:08, please. Is that up to 11:08? Okay, thank you. We can take that one down briefly. This is, if we have the lights, thank you. Sergeant, this is at the waterfall just before midnight on January 29th, 2022, correct? What you just saw.
That footage is from the waterfall just before midnight on 28th.
I'm sorry, my mistake. On the January 28th, 2022.
Correct.
Going into midnight, January 29th, 2022.
Yes, sir.
All right. This would be just minutes before everyone headed out of the waterfall and went back toward Fairview, correct?
Not everyone. The band didn't go to the Fairview.
Well, obviously I'm not talking about the band or the bartenders. I'm talking about Brian Albert, Brian Higgins, Jen McCabe, Matt McCabe, John O'Keefe, Karen Reed, those folks. Correct?
It's before some of those individuals left the bar and headed to 34 Fairview.
If we could push to runtime 16:35, 17:22, while you're queuing that up, did you see, after I asked you the initial time about the stance that the two men were taking, Brian Albert and Brian Higgins, did you see them continue to take what could be reasonably described as a fighting stance toward each other, even in jest?
They were squaring off and roughhousing, yeah.
Okay, what does squaring off mean?
Facing an opponent in like wrestling or a martial art, I guess.
Hands up?
Yes, squaring off, yeah.
You are former military?
Yes.
And current law enforcement?
Yes.
Is hand-to-hand fighting taught in both the military and paramilitary organizations like law enforcement?
I had hand-to-hand combat training in the Marine Corps. I had defensive tactics in law enforcement capacity in the Marine Corps, federal, local, and state academies.
Are you aware that Brian Albert is former military?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
I am aware that Brian Albert is former military.
And Brian Albert was also a Boston police officer?
I am aware of that as well, yes.
Are you aware that Brian Higgins was former military and a combat veteran?
Now I am, yes.
And are you aware that Brian Higgins, at the time this was taken, this video was taken, was also a federal law enforcement agent?
All right, I'm Colin Mayfield here on WCNC Plus. We're going to wrap the Karen Reed trial right now as this goes on. We'll obviously continue to monitor this here on WCNC Plus in real time, bring you back inside the Live Impact News studio. We do have a live interview to get to here in a second. Our investigative guy, Nate Morabito, is here with an amazing story. We're going to talk a little bit about the process, Nate, so I'll bring you in. I don't want to give the story away because it will be a big one at 6, right? But a very interesting story. It kind of relates to a gun, right, that we're looking into. Talk about really the case as you found it and really where you are in trying to flesh out interviews, sources, that type of thing, information.
Yeah, Colin. So, I mean, probably a couple months ago, I noticed some reporting from one of our colleagues at our station in Seattle, King TV. One of my friends is an investigative reporter there, and I noticed there in the state of Washington, the state's training academy banned a specific type of gun used by many police officers, many civilians, regular people. And the reason they did that is because of a growing number of reports that essentially said this gun, when holstered, still went off and injured people in other states. And I'm talking about the 6-hour P320, which is a very popular gun. It's a spring-loaded, they call it a striker-fired gun. And essentially in the state of Washington, they said, we've done an independent investigation. We see other places across the country where we believe this gun is going off without people touching the trigger, and we don't think it's safe for our recruits to use it. So initially that says to me, wow, is there a safety issue here that's going to impact the people here in the Carolinas? That's my concern, right? When I hear something like that. So my normal kind of due diligence here is, now that I know about this, I really need to ask some questions about it. I need to do some research to see, is this a problem? And is anyone in North Carolina or South Carolina affected? So I started doing my research to reach out to several different people, and ultimately came across a recent lawsuit that involved 3 people from North Carolina. They're all officers. 2 of them were working reportedly at the time this happened. And I want to show video of one of these incidents. This is from High Point a couple of years ago, and it's essentially surveillance video from a parking lot there where they're showing out in the distance a man with some bags over his shoulder trying to get into a minivan. And if you can go ahead and show us that, Jeff. I want to kind of talk through it for a second. You'll see kind of I believe it's a maroon minivan, or maybe it's a silver minivan.
Yeah.
Kind of in the middle of your screen there.
Okay.
Right? So this is a police officer in High Point, North Carolina. This is an officer, I'm told, who is a combat veteran, who was part of the SWAT team. And you see all these people start running to that car. He and some other people have filed lawsuits that said essentially his gun, which was holstered, the 6-hour P320, went off without him ever touching the trigger, and he suffered injuries as a result of that. He's since retired. So we knew that there was this one case here in North Carolina, and it turns out there's a couple. There's a few of these similar cases involving officers. So I reach out to an attorney who represents this man. This man's name is Vincent Panicho, the High Point police officer.
Okay.
And his attorney's name is Robert Zimmerman, and I'm trying to understand, what is the real story? What is your all's allegations about this specific type of gun? Can we listen to him real quick, Joe?
Yeah. The issue is that Sig Sauer made a gun unlike any other gun manufacturer had ever made a gun before. This is a striker-fired gun. It is pre-cocked, it is pre-loaded, and it only takes very slight trigger movement for the gun to actuate and fire. So this type of gun, traditionally with other gun manufacturers, has at least one external safety, either a thumb safety or a trigger safety. The P320 has none of those safeties on the vast majority of the P320s that are offered to the public and to law enforcement.
An interesting comment there, Nate. So you were able to contact this attorney. Obviously, he gave his side of it, and you found other cases like this. So did you reach out to those other attorneys and compile some of those stories?
Well, there's some videos that attorneys throughout the country have spent years collecting.
Okay.
And we were able to get access to some of those videos from across the country where this gun reportedly goes off, and you see these people's reactions. In one case, you see an officer on the ground with blood coming out of him, and he's saying essentially that my gun was in the holster and it went off. And you see several of these cases. And why does it really ultimately matter? We're talking about High Point. Well, the North Carolina State Highway Patrol uses this gun. That's ultimately what we were able to find out.
Yeah, more than 1,500.
Yeah, troopers. More than 1,500 of them have this gun. And these are troopers. What's a trooper's number one job?
Right. Keep people safe, right?
Keep people safe, patrol the roads, pull people over if you're speeding. And they're getting in and out of their cars a lot.
Exactly.
They're walking up to other people's cars.
Right.
And we want to make sure that there's a public discussion about the merits of the allegations against this gun, but also the merits of the company who will defend the use of this gun. So we wanted to know, well, is the Highway Patrol concerned about this gun? You know, and so that's part of our reporting you're going to see tonight at 6.
Yeah.
But I really want to point out, throughout all this gathering too, something that we pride ourselves on here is we give these people on the other side of a story plenty of time to tell their side of the story. In this case, I gave a significant amount of time, a long runway to 6 Sauer to respond for a Zoom interview, to provide evidence that would dispute some of the claims against them. The company never responded to me. But I can tell you a couple things. Number one, when that state of Washington task force was reviewing whether or not to ban this gun in its training academy, a representative of 6 Hour went and spoke before a task force and said, this gun cannot go off like this. It cannot go off. It's engineered in a certain way so that it cannot go off if you don't touch the trigger, right?
Yeah.
Number one. They argue that there's no evidence, that none of these people that have filed suit have any evidence to show that this is exactly what's happening. They argue many of the cases they were negligently in the holster or handled potentially. And they just say they believe that this is a situation where there's been many lawsuits, and they believe they're trying to get paid, essentially, these plaintiffs.
Okay.
I will tell you there is a widow in Pennsylvania of a man who sued this company, and I believe the lawsuit was filed in December. Her husband, she argues, was killed by this gun without touching the actual trigger. And so I think the most important job we have is to gather the facts,
right,
present both sides, present the evidence in totality in a very fair way. I mean, this has taken me a while to work through this story, so that we can present it in a way that people can say, okay, I can hear and see all the sides,
right,
and I can make a decision for myself. Do I need to reach out to the Highway Patrol, or do I feel comfortable with them using it? Either way, at least they'll have that information now. That's the goal.
Exactly. So I got to ask, because I get sent stuff all the time. We have news tips, and we really love when our viewers take notice, right, and take just an importance in maybe telling us about something we didn't know, which I assume this is how a lot of these stories sometimes go. So my question to you is, and I know you've spoken at length about this, you've even gone to certain seminars to teach others about it as well. How do you disseminate between certain requests and questions and stories? Because this, as you said, right, it started out with Washington State. Didn't have any type of connection to North Carolina until you saw, right, that more than 1,500 officers on the Highway Patrol use this. So how do you get started there in knowing that this is an actual claim, right? I mean, it was pretty quickly that you knew something was up here in some sense, at least on one side, right? So take me through that process. What does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, so you want to figure out, number one, are there lawsuits? Are there formal complaints against this kind of weapon, in this case, right? Is there video? What kind of evidence is out there, right? And when you start seeing video from multiple places, when you see people, our friend up there in Seattle interviewed a woman from Virginia who said the same thing happened to her. She's not involved in our story, but you hear what she says, you hear what these attorneys say, these plaintiffs, as they're called, are putting it all out there in black and white in lawsuits.
Yeah.
And you're realizing that this gun has come under fire. And there was a new lawsuit filed in March or something like that against this company that involves the Vincent Panicho officer and several others.
High Point, right?
In High Point, okay. Yes. And, these attorneys will say we represent combined hundreds of people.
Yeah.
That, most of them law enforcement that have experienced this. And so it's a fair question then to ask. Systemically, is this the best gun to be using right now? Does the gun need to be recalled and fixed? Is the gun safe? Any of those questions are fair questions to ask here.
Yeah. And
that's ultimately what we're trying to figure out. And I'll tell you too, Colin, like when I get a tip, sometimes they're consumer-driven tips, and I generally will say, I always say the first step for anybody that has a consumer issue should be their state attorney general, who can often advocate for them, right? But if there's a systemic consumer issue, meaning it's an institutional problem,
right?
That's when I will say, well, this really is something that I think we can have an impact on.
Yeah.
And I think we can tell the public about. There's a case that I'm looking at right now involving a builder of homes that have gone unfinished, right? And it's impacting dozens of homes in multiple neighborhoods, and people are living near homes that were never finished. And you wonder, well, how does it get to that point? How can you be a homeowner that's doing everything right, and be surrounded by 5 or 6 homes that never get finished, right? That should not be
it's
the
not
way
normal.
the system works.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what we're trying to figure out when we do these stories. What can we do to improve the system so that we can really understand that we're getting the most benefit out of it.
You always find a way, though. I have to ask this as well, because I even found it in my own reporting here in Charlotte, and obviously you've been here much longer than I have. People don't always, right, they're a little bit worried that maybe we'll catch them out, maybe we'll ask some questions that they didn't think of, something like that, right? But in a lot of times, it is our job to find the facts, no matter what side of the aisle, and bring them, like you said, both sides. Do you ever run into a wall, right, or maybe a response that you didn't expect, and how do you find your way out of that to really reposition the story and refocus it?
Well, for me, it's all about accountability, number one. At least in the Sig Sauer case, there is the legal system now, right? The company's not in Charlotte.
Yeah.
I can't show up at their door and interview them about it. I gave them a chance to respond. They put a statement.
In fact, they're not a United States-based company, I don't think, right?
I'm not sure where they're located.
I think they're German-based, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Sig Sauer, yeah.
Okay, well, I gave them a chance to talk. They didn't respond. They had a release they put on their website in March. We're including that in our reporting, right?
Okay.
But you have an issue here in Charlotte involving people in Charlotte. And
Swiss company. My fault.
Okay, thanks for the correction there.
Yeah.
I'll give an example. We were doing some stories, speaking of guns, about people who battled addiction who were getting wrongly denied concealed carry permits by the Mecklenburg County Sheriff's Office. This was towards the end of the year. There's some legislation pending right now in the state.
That's right.
Based on our reporting. And in that case, the sheriff just wasn't going to talk to us, right? And so we're at a point where we've documented a lot of cases where a judge has said this was wrongly denied. We have an elected official, and I essentially said, look, I'm going to give you some time, but you can expect to see us at some point. We're going to ask you these questions on camera. And it's never a threat. It's the reality. I'm going to follow through on it, right? And we did, and we got him, and we talked to him for 3 or 4 or 5 minutes. He was fairly open in our conversation. But there's the accountability. Now it's me asking him questions, right, that the public deserves answers to. And I think that that's a path that we take often. I find because of our approach, being fair, not rushing stuff on TV, people will tend to sit down and talk with us, but when they don't, I will tell them if it's a story that we think that there needs to be accountability in, you can expect us at the city council meeting, we will be there, or at the CMS school meeting. I've done all of those things, and guess what? They've ultimately done the interview. I'd much rather, Colin, I'd rather sit here and just have this conversation.
Right, rather than having to force some questioning.
I don't want to have a microphone. I mean, that's not conversational. I want to just sit here and talk to somebody to really get their side. I mean, I'm so dead set, maybe to a fault, about being fair, honestly, because it's so important for
I think that's great. I think that's great. And I think more people should know that journalists are doing this each and every day, right? I can't speak to other companies, but I know with Integna, that is a core value of ours. And we really love the things that you are doing. I know it takes a lot of work because you have not just this story, as you said, multiple projects going on in the background, and I think that in and of itself is a skill set that's just not taught. So we appreciate the work. You got to see this story. It's tonight at 6. Nate has done so many other stories that he's filed. Of course, that legislation he was just speaking of is on WCNC.com. You can also find it through the WCNC mobile app. So I know you got some more work to do. Dot your I's, cross your T's. Anything else that I missed that maybe you wanted to let our viewers know, or anybody watching on stream?
No, I mean, I want to reiterate that when we are doing a story, when somebody or some company's reputation is at stake, we are making an effort to essentially give them a no surprises email.
Yeah.
We're working on the story. Here's generally what we're looking for the information about, just so no one can say, hey, this is gotcha journalism. That's not what I do.
No.
We don't do that.
And there's never been a claim that I've seen that we've done anything unfair in this way. So
No.
you're doing right, and I think people out there are happy with the questions that you're asking, because I was going to say this earlier, people deserve those answers, especially when you find a systematic problem.
Yeah, they do. And I'll just say for this gun story tonight, this is not a pro or anti-gun story.
Exactly, right.
Troopers will have a gun.
Right.
So it's a matter of what gun they use. And I would love to hear from people if they think this is the best gun for them or not the best. I just love to hear from people. You can email me, you can find me on social media. I love hearing that feedback, to know that people watched it, they thought about it, maybe they talked about it with their friends or family, and then they came to some thought. Some people may reach out to their lawmaker. Some people may reach out to the state agency saying we support it.
Right.
I don't know, but at least they'll have the information, and that is valuable.
Well, and there are civilians that have this gun. I've got to make it a model of this type of gun as well. So it's good to know these things, and people, as you said, consumers, Americans, and not just folks here in America, they should know if they have this type of weapon. And if there is something going on, we'll obviously we'll ask the right questions.
Yeah, and I'll tell you this too. Sig Sauer is really defiant about this. The company says the gun is engineered in a way, and tests have proven it, they say, that it cannot go off unless you push the trigger and pull the trigger. Statement. People represented by attorneys who have been shot by this gun disagree.
Okay. See the story tonight at 6. Nate, appreciate your time, man. It's great to always have you on and get a little bit more in depth. This is why WCNC Plus is so helpful, because sometimes we can't do this during a 30-minute newscast. So, all right, Nate, appreciate you, man.
Thank you.
We're going to get on to the news of the day here. The Karen retrial, I do believe, is still ongoing. Jeb is giving me a yes, so we're going to go to that as testimony continues on the stand right now.
At a slow speed, yes.
Which area of the SUV collided with the Chevy Traverse? The front, the rear?
It appears from the video it's the right rear area of the Lexus SUV that comes into contact with the Traverse.
What time was this video taken?
I believe that is at 5:07 a.m., if I'm not mistaken.
Thank you, Sergeant. I want to change gears again, if I could, and ask you about a dog. You're aware that the Alberts, Nicole Albert, Brian Albert, had a dog that they named Chloe on on January 28th, 29th of 2022, correct?
Objection. I'll allow the question. Were you aware of that?
At what point in time, sir?
January 28th, 29th, that area.
Was I aware that they owned a dog on January 28th or 29th?
No. Are you aware now that on January 28th or 29th, they owned a dog? There was a dog in the house.
Now I am aware, yes.
Okay. During the course of your investigation, you learned that, correct?
Yes.
During the course of your investigation, did you also become aware that the Alberts got rid of their family dog?
Objection. I'm going to see you at sidebar on this, please.
Sure.
All right, things coming not to a close, but I think just to a recess right now in the Karen Reed retrial. Week 3, this a lot going on here in the Karen Reed trial. We just had Nate Morabito on because I want to go back and highlight some of our own work. We'll go to something in just a second. But again, Nate's story on this particular gun that apparently has both sides to this story, right? It's going to be on at 6 o'clock tonight, talking about North Carolina Highway Patrol, how they use this gun. And really, this story is all about trying to find the answers, making sure that law enforcement are safe when they're trying to protect the public as well. So that story, you got to see it at 6. We just talked about it here on WCNC Plus. If you missed it, download WCNC Plus on your smart TV, and you can click back on this little episode that we did from 3 to 4 here. So obviously we had a storm that rolled through, not just one. We had a couple of different lines roll through our area over the last 24, 48 hours. For a lot of folks, it not just brought hail, but also some wind damage. So the BBB is speaking about storm damage, what small businesses can do. It's a very tight time right now in the economy for small businesses and getting them back on their feet. So let's listen into what they had to say and some advice given to the public.
So we saw a huge storm, definitely Chester County, Lancaster County, York County, but this is not uncommon across, I'm sure, multiple counties across North and South Carolina. So sure it's the same for everyone. When this happens, a lot of companies will reach out or will post about providing help to when it comes to damages to property.
Sure.
What kind of calls do you all get around this time of the year is what I'm really wondering.
We're always getting calls with consumers wanting to do their homework, and that's really the best thing that we do. One of the best things that we do here is we provide reliability reports, profiles on local businesses in our community. So, consumers can contact us. We can provide them a report on that company, how long they've been in business, have they had any complaints, how they responded to those complaints. Are they properly licensed? So that's one of the major points of the Better Business Bureau is provide that service, to be a servant to our community. And anytime, you have storms like this, there's going to be storm chasers out there. There's going to be folks that are knocking on doors. And in the state of South Carolina, we're blessed to do that type of work, to do roofing work, anything over $500 repair work on someone's house in South Carolina. You have to have a minimum of a specialty contractor's license through the South Carolina Department of Labor Licensing and Regulation. And anytime someone becomes a member here at the Better Business Bureau, that's the first place that we're going to check, is make sure they've got their proper licensing in place. And it's that way, it's just important when consumers are dealing with businesses, especially when they come knocking on their door. If they've had some damages, maybe there's some leaking going on, certainly there's some panic going on there. There's a major issue going on. So a lot of times consumers get caught up in the moment and they forget to do their homework. So any good contractor out there, they're going to help you provide the information that you need so that you can, as a consumer, you can make a good decision. And if somebody's knocking on your door, they're saying this deal is only good for today. They don't want to show you their licensing. They don't want to show you their bonding information. Those are major red flags. And although, it's an emergency situation, you still want to make sure you're doing your homework, Ms. King. That way, if there's something does go wrong, the Better Business Bureau can help you out. They've got a license, they've got some skin in the game. It just makes it easier for us to be able to help folks out. So it's just really important that consumers out there, although there's an emergency going on, they still need to make sure they're doing their homework and getting the right person to take care of their house for them.
And I was going to say, when there is an emergency, it's that moment of desperation for folks that could get them potentially in a worse situation. Is that what you all see?
Yes. You pay money up front. A good contractor, certainly a deposit is reasonable, but certainly you don't want to be paying, large sums of money up front, especially not getting information, get everything in writing. No job should be paid for until it's completed in full and you're satisfied with the work. And, if you give money up front to someone and you haven't done your homework, you don't know who they are, you don't know where they are, it's going to be really hard for any organization to help those folks out, Ms. King.
Do you typically receive calls after the fact from people, after they potentially paid someone, after
Unfortunately, we get more than we should. It's the worst phone calls. Is someone calls and asks for a report on a company, that company's got an F rating, they've got a history of unanswered complaints, and the worst question is how do I file a complaint? So we're really at our best, most powerful when you use us for a pre-purchase report. That's why we put those reports out there. We've got a very high domain authority. Ms. King, you can pretty much Google any company and that BBB profile is going to be right there. So we take that complaint process very seriously, and we certainly give businesses in our community a fair chance to respond to any complaint that comes across.
Perfect. And then, so what advice do you have for people who are going through this right now? We plan to go down there and see some of the damage, but there are people who are going through this. So what advice do you have for them?
Well, what you want to do is just take a little extra time. My daughter always says, does everything have to be in football terms? But it's okay to back up and punt sometimes, so just take a second. And, with these smartphones today, it's so easy just to do a quick search. There's so many, bbb.org. There's so many great sites out there, review sites. We vet all of our customer reviews, just like our complaints. So what you really want to do is just take a minute, do your homework, make sure you're dealing with someone that's licensed, that has all their background information. And it just, that way, you're going to save yourself a lot of heartache at the end of the road.
Perfect. Awesome. Anything else you want to share with people?
Just tell them, it's okay to do your homework. Don't let somebody pressure into you just saying, hey, this deal is only going to be good for today. Because somebody that's in our community, that's here, that wants to take care of their customers, they're going to be here today, they're going to be here tomorrow. So it's okay to take a minute and just do your homework.
All right, hopefully some information there that can help small business owners, a lot of folks here in our area. And don't forget, I mean, this is just another storm that we saw this week. Of course, we're still in severe weather season, and we're getting closer to some of the hurricane stuff that we will see could hit our area. So our meteorologists were in all night and throughout the day yesterday. Got to give them a shout out because best in the business, Brad Panovich, Brittany Van Voorhees, and the entire team, Chris Mulcahy, Majestic Storm, Rebecca as well. So can't forget our amazing team. All right. In New Jersey, transit and train engineers, they're moving closer to a potential strike. So we've heard strikes in different industries. Namely, we had a strike in our own backyard with the airport workers, obviously at CLT, asking for more money and better conditions, those type of things. So I think this is the same press conference in some sense. They're asking for a better situation. So both sides, they're going to head to Washington, it sounds like, in the next couple of days to try and avert this rail shutdown, which clearly could not do anything but hurt the economy in some sense. So let's listen in to see what type of things they're asking for and what they will be meeting in Washington about.
New Jersey transit officials have repeatedly said that locomotive engineers earn on average $135,000 per year. Unfortunately for the locomotive engineers in New Jersey Transit, this is simply not the case. Reviewing publicly available data for all locomotive engineers in 2024, the average was only $113,000 per year. And that's and a substantial number of locomotive engineers fell well below that average. So you may ask why the discrepancy? Apparently it seems like New Jersey Transit has been unable to understand their own payroll data. We have discovered that for reasons unknown to us, New Jersey Transit classifies locomotive engineers in two separate groups in their payroll system, with roughly half of the locomotive engineers in it. That one group has significantly higher annual earnings than the other. And apparently it was that group that New Jersey Transit has been citing when they offer their figures on average wages.
Got some minor breaking news here in the city of Charlotte right now. We'll pause this press conference. Right now, we do have Woodlawn Road. The lanes are shut down. This is near Park Road. There is a fatal accident and an investigation going on right now and still very active. So they're asking folks, please avoid this area as this investigation is ongoing. Not exactly sure how long this situation will continue to go on, but clearly you can see number of police cruisers on the scene, that security guard and another man standing there, clearly watching the scene going on. But what we do know, as I said, this was a fatal crash at Woodlawn and Park Roads. Apparently there was a bicyclist hit in this. So some sad news here. And as we know, a very busy stretch there on Park Road. I'm just pulling up this map here. We've got the Park Road Shopping Center, which is clearly a big draw for a lot of folks there. And then on the other side, you've got the Chick-fil-A, another office buildings, caddy corner from that as well. So we're seeing just snarled traffic in this area on this Friday afternoon. It's clearly close to 3:30. We're going to bring this little map up here in a second as we get away from the scene here. So this is what we're looking at, and this is kind of what I was talking about. You see the shopping center there, kind of close to the middle of your screen, but towards the top right. And so that's where that accident is going on, Woodlawn and Park Road. Yeah, and it says, or at least we were told, that all lanes are shut down. It looks like from the shot that we have, that is what seems to be happening. So this investigation is very active. So, and there we can see the video there on the bottom right-hand side of your screen. We see some investigators kind of taking some shots. I just did see a bicycle there. There it is. You can see the bicycle. Man, I wonder if this truck is involved in this. It seems like it could be some type of.
Yeah, it's behind the police line. Yeah, we don't. It's speculation at this point. We haven't heard any details.
Right.
Obviously, our crew is on the scene. But yeah, I mean, it's very interesting that this truck would be behind the police tape right there.
Yeah, it's got an oversized load. As you can see, it's got some type of loader or hoist there. And in the background, you can see there's a apartment building that seems to be going up with construction. So again, a lot of this stuff is not confirmed. We are just speaking on what we are seeing. And I'm wondering, Jeb, if that truck came from that construction site. There's a lot of construction going on.
Yeah, it's a big area. So here, let's paint the picture of where this is actually happening. So for those folks who kind of traverse the Montford area, this is right at the intersection by the Chick-fil-A over there. There's a kind of by the Shake Shack, the Velvet Taco. There's a AMC Park Terrace. So this is an extremely busy part of Charlotte. You know, there's this little mall over here.
Yeah, closer to Loso. I guess you could call this kind of the Loso area in some sense.
South Park, right around there, kind of in that weird bridge between the two.
Mm-hmm. It's a very busy area. With the Harris Teeter, I've been to a bakery right here for some good stuff, and then you've got Dunk's Coffee, a couple other spots as well. So yeah, this is pretty busy. And the AMC Park Terrace, as you said, is there. It's a great little movie theater. But yeah, Woodlawn Road going to be shut down, it seems like, for quite some time. And this is like the worst time to have.
Right, Friday afternoon, everyone's getting off. Like this area gets really, really busy right around now on a Friday afternoon.
Our thoughts are with this person, whoever they are, and their family obviously are going to get this call on this Friday afternoon. So hate to talk about that and speculate, but unfortunately this is a fatal incident where we know a bicyclist was hit at the intersections of Woodlawn Road and Park Road, and we've been seeing investigators taking pictures. There's a bicycle there, as you can see, on the ground. Have not seen any ambulances or anything like that in this shot just yet, but that oversized load truck seems to be the vehicle in question, and that is what they have cordoned off here on Woodlawn. So it seems like they're detouring behind this shot here, as you can see now that this Nissan kind of just rolled up. But behind there, in the background, it seems like people are taking what would be a left, which would be off or onto Park Road. This is Woodlawn that we're looking on. So yeah, this scene could be here for quite some time, and we're going to bring this to you at our 4 o'clock news to give you some updates, and hopefully try and speak to CMPD to see what we can learn. I'm sure they're trying to notify the victim's family, though, at this time, and we will not get any names or the age of those folks until that victim's family is told, which is, of course, the right thing to do. So hopefully all that are involved in this going forward will stay safe. But again, this is a very busy area, especially on a Friday. A lot of folks enjoy a place to eat. There's Amelie's, the French bakery that's over there as well. A lot of people love to grab a little coffee at, especially on a Friday afternoon heading in. And we've got a busy weekend on tap in Charlotte as well. I know that Love and Life Fest isn't going on, and we don't have Kendrick Lamar back in town, but every weekend seems to be something going on here in the city of Charlotte. So we're going to continue to monitor this situation. Again, Woodlawn Road, the lanes are shut down. This is at Park Road. We have not gotten any verification on how long this could last. But again, through our shot, you can see that we have up. Their investigation continues to go on, and now the investigator that was kind of taking pictures of the bicycle is now gravitating towards this cab of this truck. So we're going to continue to stay with this. Again, the information that we have is that a bicyclist was shut down. They are asking you to use alternative routes. So let's see. Alternative routes might be coming off of Woodlawn, heading towards Park Road, which seems like people are, if they're on Woodlawn, they're taking a left onto Park Road or going right. And then from there are a myriad of ways that you can get around this, maybe by taking Tyvola Road, which also gets kind of jammed up on this Friday, and then make your way towards South Boulevard. But again, pretty affected stretch, especially on this Friday. And this is right in the neighborhood or close to Madison Park. So just north of Madison Park and not too far from the Myers Park Country Club as well. So Park Road Baptist Church, Freedom Park is a little bit more, would that be north or east? Northeast in some sense, from Woodlawn Road. So this investigation is going to continue here. And And we are getting live video from this scene. I do believe we do have a reporter that will be heading to this and hopefully giving us some updates at 4 o'clock. So we'll continue to monitor the situation. But we'll, again, tell you that this was a fatal bicyclist accident here on Woodlawn Road. They have all of the lanes shut down at this time. That's the information that we've been confirmed for us by police. But we did have another incident on 77. I know that you can't necessarily bring that up, but I just want to talk about that. And then don't forget this weekend as well, traffic on I-77, the exit in Huntersville is going to be detoured this weekend for construction. There's a lot of things going on around Charlotte, so just be aware. NCDOT can be a great resource for folks, especially in a time like this when we've got an incident on the roadways happening on a Friday afternoon. So again, let's...
Yeah, here, while you're doing that, I'll talk about kind of the traffic situation here. So since we've got on this, I mean, mere minutes ago, pretty much right after this happened, we've been seeing a lot more red, specifically on the northbound Park Road lanes, but also the southbound. I mean, really, and then on Woodlawn, too, kind of coming up to it. I mean, this is a real traffic mess right now. And you can see kind of in the live video we've got in your bottom right-hand corner, people are moving around, kind of getting out of that parking lot there. But you can see kind of past the officers there. Here, let me bring this up full. It looks like traffic has kind of recommenced. You can see cars in both directions going. It looks like probably one lane each. So that's not going anywhere. But here, if I bring this up, again, you can kind of see where that break is between the yellow and the red. It does look like traffic has reopened in some capacity. I'm going to reach out to our photographer on the scene right now to see if he can confirm that. But it does seem like first responders are doing their best to try and get those lanes open, understanding this is a really busy part of the day, busy part of the week, and get that traffic going, because any longer of a delay, and we could see some real issues, especially like you mentioned, Colin, Friday afternoon in that Montford South Park area. A lot of kids, this is a big area. You've got Angry Ales and the Bolero, like that straight on Montford, literally one block over.
Yeah, it's a very walkable stretch.
Yeah, 100%. This is a really, really beautiful part of Charlotte, which just makes this tragedy all the more upsetting. But it does seem like first responders and CMPD are working to try and decongest the traffic just a little bit.
And they did put out on Atlas One and on X that this fatal crash investigation is happening in the Westover division. That's the division in terms of where CMPD makes kind of their distinction in terms of what officers go to where. So this is what they said, their details that they brought out about 7 minutes ago. CMPD's major crash investigation unit is investigating a collision between a bicyclist and a vehicle at the intersection of Park Road and East Woodlawn Road in the Westover division. East Woodlawn Road is closed at Park Road. Please avoid this area if possible and seek alternate routes. So that's exactly what we've been telling you here for the last 10 minutes. It seems like this has been going on since around 2 p.m. So it's been at least, I can probably say, more than an hour that this has been shut down. But again, this is going to jam things up, and you can see it's getting even more red now on the Park Road, heading into what would be South Charlotte. If you're heading kind of north or northeast, yeah. So that backup is really stretching quite far.
Yeah, it looks like, so if you're on Woodlawn right now, it does look like here, let me pull this up again. It does look like the traffic is going, so from that Woodlawn, so we're talking east to west, but north to south. So if you're on Park Road, there's just nowhere for these people to go. If you kind of look on this traffic map, there's no easy way kind of around. There's a lot of dead end.
Well, and there's construction going on.
And there's a lot of construction.
There's a Chipotle actually going up right at the corner there.
Yeah, they've been talking about that.
4336 Woodlawn Road, which is at Woodlawn and Park Road. So I think that would be on the left of that shot, potentially, if I have my bearings correct. But either way, there are a ton of apartment buildings on Woodlawn Road and houses as well.
And this area jams up at this time of day anyways. I mean, anyone who's been over there, it really, that's one of the very congested parts of Charlotte, because I mean, I really want people to take a look here. I'm going to drop this live pic for a sec. These roads, there aren't a lot of workarounds. Like if you're on Park Road, these go into a lot of neighborhoods, a lot of cul-de-sacs. There's just not a lot of ways.
You can see Silwan now, right, is now backing up as well because
because people are now trying to take that.
Yeah, and I've taken, and then you've got, again, it's a Friday, so folks are going to be at Myers Park Country Club. They're going to be at Freedom Park, which is above the screen, which would be a little bit more northeast. And then Myers Park High School, they're letting out, or they already did let out kids, but I'm sure that there are a lot of after-school things happening. This is not a great time, obviously, for anything to happen like this in the city of Charlotte.
And we do have some good news now for travelers. Our photographer, Kevin Wardlaw, one of the best in the game, he just let us know within the last 5 seconds that both the in- and outbound roads on Park Road are open. So when we can kind of see that reflected both in that video and in our traffic map right here, only seeing a little bit of green, only a little bit of red, which is kind of what we would expect this time of day.
You're saying
right
north
there.
and southbound?
So no, these are of Woodlawn.
So east and west.
Yeah, east and west.
Which
he said Park, but I think he meant Woodlawn.
And we're gonna say east and west based on the photo we are looking at. I know that they may not be the true east and west because obviously the city of Charlotte uptown sits kind of like on a, I don't know what you'd call it, but it's kind of shifted. It's not
like an axis.
Yes, it's not north and south in every direction in terms of how certain things are set in the first ward, second ward, third ward, fourth ward, that type of thing. So anyway, this is a fatal incident, a deadly crash here. We do have that confirmed for you from CMPD here in South Charlotte at Woodlawn Road and Park Road. And I don't see, it's obviously Woodlawn is still shut down. Park Road is still open, but this could be some time that they continue to have this closed down. There's been no update from Charlotte Mecklenburg Police. Let me just double check X here.
Yeah, and here while you're doing that, I'm going to fill folks in kind of on what we're seeing. So we when these things happen, one of the priorities from CMPD is, yes, to get traffic going, to get people on their way, to get things moving. But priority number one is understanding how this crash happened, understanding who was at fault, what happened, and how to prevent it. So this investigation could take hours. When a life is lost, like we're seeing now, those investigations take a really long time because they want to be extra thorough, make sure they don't leave any stone unturned before they move the different variables out of place and open the road.
Well, and this brings up a discussion that we've had and we've talked about at WCNC, which is bicycle lanes, right?
Yeah.
There aren't any in that area.
I'm not seeing any in this shot.
And there aren't. I mean, I've driven that area. There aren't any bicycle lanes on Woodlawn or on Park Road, at least in that area that I know of. And throughout Park Road, I mean, I take it from South Charlotte often. There aren't. There are sidewalks along much of Park Road. But another thing, right? Let's not forget, more to the south, Park Road links up with Quail Hollow Club.
Right.
So there's a lot of folks that are still making their way, even though Truist Championship is being played up in Pennsylvania this weekend, that place is just alight with tons of movement, and it is busy at Quail Hollow Club. So I'm sure there are a ton of PGA officials, potentially even some caddies.
Ready. I've been noticing the
international. I mean, there are already. I've seen international journalists that are already here. They're staged. So some of these folks might already be in town, right, trying to get around Charlotte. So, hey, Charlotte's one of those cities that if you have an issue in one particular spot, it's going to jam up a ton of others, and that's just the way it is. Yeah, infrastructure here sometimes isn't the clearest, right, to be able to use in terms of getting to point A to point B. So I'll say it in that way. Obviously, we know that there's been a lot of discussion at the City of Charlotte, the commissioners' meetings as well about transit, and that's an investment that we have gone long in the tooth on here at WCNC to let folks know about. But anyway, let's refocus. This is a bicyclist killed. It happened just after 2 o'clock or around 2 p.m. on this Friday. This is at Woodlawn and Park Roads. So again, the Montford area, a very, very busy area in South Charlotte, and on a Friday there's a lot happening. I think I just pulled up some of the events that aren't going to be too far away from where this is. So we've got the Pop and Pour Charlotte Wine Festival, the Carolina Field Fest apparently this weekend. So there's a lot going on. And then, of course, it's Mother's Day weekend as well. So another sad, I guess, point to make that this happened on this Friday, unfortunately. CMPD officers, though, they've been seen surrounding and really focusing on that tractor trailer, as you can see. It's got some sort of hoist in the back. I think it's called the Genie. But anyway, it's used in construction construction sites to put people in certain places. So, yeah, it's hard to slow this type of vehicle down, especially when it's moving, and it already says oversized load. So just a terrible thing to have to report on this Friday. But we do have, as you can see, Kevin Ward on scene giving us this live shot, and we'll continue to kind of stick with this here. We've got about 14 more minutes or so until we hit the 4 o'clock news. No updates in this situation yet in terms of the road opening. You see the investigator on the left side of the screen taking photos. That person has been on scene since we have been seeing this shot. Earlier, she was just taking photos of the bicycle that is on the ground in the middle of the scene. I'm not exactly sure if folks can see that. I don't know what that is behind it. I was trying to wonder if they maybe put something over the scene. Sometimes they block, when it's a fatal accident, they block certain things off so people cannot see things, but it also respects their person and that family, of course, in their final moments, things of that nature. So I'm just kind of wondering what that is. But yeah, this it's a good shot to kind of give us a realization of what we're looking at and really what police are doing. And we've said there have been multiple cruisers and a couple dozen officers on scene at one point in time. And yeah, I said a very walkable area. That young man, not walking in a crosswalk, but that he probably should. Yeah, probably should just be careful, especially on these type of roadways when folks are trying to get around. It's hard to kind of see individuals in this respect. There's a lot going on. So this bicycle, you can see on the ground next to that truck, seems to be the bicycle that this person was riding. And I do believe that there's a crosswalk. You can kind of see to the left where that investigator.
That police, the officers.
Yeah, so. Yeah, it's not necessarily a quick light. I don't want to say that, but I have turned left from Park Road onto Woodlawn trying to get to our station before.
Yeah.
And that light is long, but it does allow a little time for pedestrians to get through. It's not, in my opinion, I haven't seen as often folks walking in that area during the middle of the day, but I do know during the evening, folks come out more often and try to walk. I wonder what that man was saying to our Kevin Ward there. I wonder if he witnessed. Of course, that's part of the process here for us is confirming this information for folks, right? Getting the shot, getting on scene. We obviously want to be first on the scene, but we want to be first in terms of accuracy and making sure that we give people the correct story. So, again, where others might go with a name or an age, we're making sure that we're confirming all this information and respecting all parties that are involved. So, yeah, it's going to be a scene where a lot of folks, that's another thing that just blows my mind here. A lot of folks love to rubberneck, man, and that's so dangerous. You got to be careful, especially in the right places and the right times. Right. We tell folks all the time, download WCNC Plus, take a picture like we did yesterday and near me, but we say that only when you can do so in a safe spot, right? So if you want to look, if you want to try and obviously you don't want to get involved in a situation like this, but you want to stay out of the police, out of their way, the investigation, getting a nice close-up shot now of this bicycle from our Kevin Ward on scene. But yeah, we don't want folks to get involved, intervene with this active investigation. So again, this is a highly traveled area, both by car and by foot at certain times of the day. And again, our traffic map looks a little bit better, but Selwyn now is backing up all the way to that. See that street that kind of curves there?
Yeah, Queens Road.
Is that Queens Road? Okay.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of nice houses on that street as well. And that's a beautiful area to walk a dog, walk with your loved one maybe, but that place is going to see some backups as well.
Yeah, and just to add on a couple of things. First of all, to piggyback off of that, as anyone in our traffic department, Meg Bragg or Majestic Storm or Destiny Richards or Chris Mulcahy, anyone who's done traffic at any point for our station will tell you traffic really starts to ramp up in Charlotte right around 4. I mean, it's like clockwork. You know,
Well, you could argue
it's all the time.
that it's like
It could be all
2,
the
maybe
time.
1,
Yeah.
maybe 10 a.m.
But certainly as someone who's
Right.
left the office to go back home at around 4, I mean, it gets a lot of people are hitting the road.
Yeah.
So I think that as we hit that 4 o'clock hour, there's going to be a lot of unpleasant surprises here as folks get on the road and have to deal with this. So we're going to.
This isn't the only issue that we've had. We had an issue
Yeah,
on
on
I-70
the highways as well.
I-77 earlier, which, as I said, northbound there was. There's major delays on I-77. There was a crash on South Charlotte. Actually, I went past that earlier today. Duh, Colin. I coming from 485 from South Carolina into North Carolina, it was shut down and down to 1 lane. It was backing up all the way down to Carowinds today earlier because of a situation on 77. So it was briefly closed due to a crash on South Charlotte earlier today. That was reported on northbound 77 near exit 3 and Arrowwood Road, but we're not clear yet if anyone was injured on that in that wreck and how many vehicles were involved in that. Are you getting updates, Jeb? Or we're going to continue with this story? Okay.
Just learning more about the investigation. Something that I want to kind of speculate on is kind of what may have happened. I'm looking at the truck right now. It appears that the left turn indicator is on, and if you look kind of towards the back, it's kind of jackknifed. So I'm assuming, and again, this is all speculation,
So it was
that
turning.
it was making a left turn
Yeah.
from Woodlawn onto Park Road. That's kind of what, or excuse me, from Park Road
From Park Road onto Woodlawn. Yes. Yeah. That car just passed again. Sorry, let's pull this shot up real quick again.
Yeah.
Router 1. Again, folks, I know you want to get if you're listening, you want to get a clear view of this. We will have this at 4 o'clock. Let folks know what we know and any updates as well, any developments that make it into our air in the next 8 minutes. But probably a good idea to just try and make your way around the situation, allow police to do their job so they can get this cleaned up. On this Friday. Again, they want to do their due diligence and respecting the investigation and the person that unfortunately died on this Friday afternoon. But again, we don't want anybody involved in that, and we want to make sure the police are safe themselves. So, yeah, that's a good indication there to see exactly what we think happened. Obviously, there's been no confirmation from police yet. That person who's been taking photos has been doing so for about 30 minutes now. So it's a very thorough investigation. And then Charlotte Mecklenburg Police putting out that their major crash investigation unit is investigating this. I'm assuming that they only bring them out, obviously with a crash, but certainly for a fatal accident like this. So, again, this is not the first time we've had this discussion. Jeb and I just talked about bike lanes, right? There's more bike lanes. I would say more consideration for bikers and pedestrians closer to Uptown. Obviously, that's been a discussion that we've had at WCNC Charlotte about transit. Say it again.
We've done a lot of stories on that.
We do have a lot of stories on that on WCNC.com and how bicyclists and how motorists can work together a little bit better. I think we all can get behind that. But yeah, this is a very interesting part of town where you do have sidewalks, you do have crosswalks, but anybody who's riding a bicycle clearly is going to ride on the road and going to adhere by all the posted speed limits and everything that they're supposed to on a bike. But it's up to us motorists to watch out for those individuals. So, but yeah, it's not necessarily a bicyclist-friendly area in this respect in terms of bike lanes because there aren't any. So that makes it a little bit tedious. So yeah, again, speculation all at this point. What we do have confirmed for you, though, is that this fatal crash investigation is ongoing at the Westover Division of CMPD. The actual number is 1406 East Woodlawn Road. So their major crash investigation unit investigating this collision, bicyclist and this tractor trailer. As you can see, they're saying it's just a vehicle. But again, I'm wondering if this big rig was picking up. Oh, we do have another shot from behind.
Yeah, so here, this is a great
shot.
We're just getting this in. This is another angle. This is from moments after it happened. You can kind of see that initial police and emergency crew response.
And so there's what I was saying in terms of how they're trying to block off and block people's view, right? You see that fire truck parked there. You see the cruiser parked kind of, sideways to kind of block anything. You see another cruiser on the right there. So they're going to respect, and it looks like there's even a sheet, a white sheet in the middle of that frame there. So, man, that's sad to see today on this Friday. But yes, this was a fatal accident, and it does involve that tractor trailer with that. I'm going to look that up, what that is, because I want to know the actual name, that hoist that I'm talking about. Let's see, Genie Hoist Rental. It comes right up. That's the wrong one. Anyway, it's used in construction sites. Seen them pretty often. Boom lift. That's what it is. A scissor lift. I couldn't think of it. I'm not in construction or in construction backgrounds, but I kind of knew what it was. So it's a scissor lift. So yeah, I mean, those things are all over uptown, especially with the construction that's going on really across Charlotte. So I think that's what that oversized load was carrying away from some type of construction site. But this investigation is going to continue. We do know Woodlawn Road is shut down. All lanes shut down at this time, Park Road and Woodlawn Road. This is again by the Park Road Shopping Center, that big shopping mall that's got Harris Teeter in it, Amelie's in it, Midwood Smokehouse. So yes, and the flower shop New American, if you know where that is as well. So yeah, there's a lot of businesses over here, and again, a highly trafficked area, both in by people who are on foot, and there's another bicyclist right there. Here, let's take this shot. There we go. Oh, yeah. I hit it at the same time as you. Sorry. That person riding their bike right across the road. But I wouldn't say it's safe to do so now, but it's safer to do so with no cars on Woodlawn. So a lot of people are taking detours here. The roadways look a little bit better as I'm looking at the map. But again, it seems like people are starting to understand and realize that this situation is ongoing in South Charlotte, and they're taking necessary steps to kind of move away from this. So coming up on the top of the hour, we have a number of headlines that we're going to talk about, not necessarily myself, but Nick Sturdivant and Jane Monreal will be taking over here in the next couple of minutes. But again, this highlights, and I feel like we always have some big snarls to traffic on Fridays. Earlier, we had some major delays on I-77 for a crash there. There's some road work happening on northbound I-77 closer to Huntersville, the exit up there as well. So if you are working tonight, like many of us are, I always kind of check NCDOT because you never know what type of construction may pop up. There are 2 cruisers leaving now, or 1 cruiser maybe moving themselves. Maybe I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. But yeah, some movement in terms of them kind of moving things, the vehicles around. I wonder if they're getting closer to potentially giving us an update on this. But yeah, we haven't heard anything from police just yet. And they put out probably about 20 minutes ago that this was a moderate alert on Atlas 1, which is kind of their site to give announcements when a certain police investigation is happening across Charlotte, Mecklenburg. So again, a very highly visible and trafficked site. People walking around on this Friday. And this is Woodlawn Road, Park Road, shut down at Woodlawn right now. All lanes.